all out of bubble.
Live exclusively for WCPT in Chicago, standing up and speaking out, here's Hal Sparks.
That's right. It's me and Johnny Million live on the stream, finishing up his morning yogurt. That's right. He's been running. He's been funning. Did you have a run this morning?
I did, 9 miles.
9 miles. Wow,
Yep.
That's impressive. I went about 22 feet altogether.
Well, it's still early there.
Yeah. Downstairs, went and fed the cat, and then it came down here and started cranking up the Wizard of Oz machine that I have to run to get this show on its feet. Yeah, right. Pull back the curtain, and here we are. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. How are you? Hope you're having a fantastic morning. This is, one, two, three, we got four more? Five, I guess. 5 more Sundays, or 5 more Saturdays between us and inauguration. Something like that.
God,
Ballpark.
that feels like a lot.
It does feel like a lot, but it's true, yeah. Because
Is it January 20th?
Yeah.
Or 9th?
That's the 19th, and the 20th he officially takes, I don't know. Summer and I are planning on being in DC for it.
Nice.
Whatever, we've planned a trip there for the inauguration. I don't know that it will turn into anything. It may very well be that it's a socially distanced minor thing, and they decide in a total act of maturity not to have an inauguration on the lawn and then do a big 4th of July thing, which I think would be the smart thing. But whatever. That said, we're still planning on going with, depending on at the time where we are as far as the safety of said activity. And I think a lot of people are in that space right now, kind of shaping their world, around the current pandemic again. We are almost back to where we were in April. And the president, the current president, said many times in the last month of his rally, his super spreader event cascade across the country in a bizarre attempt to sicken and kill a good portion of his own supporters and anyone who might put up with their crap by hanging out with them. And, those folks ended up catching it from people who, oh, by the way, I was just at a super spreader event where no one wore masks and Herman Cain was killed. But the president was saying 7 months ago, we all want to go back to life 7 months ago. He kept saying this, and it didn't matter about the date. He kept screwing this up, kept saying 7 months ago over and over again, even though every time he said it, it pushed us further into dead center of the actual lockdown, the primary lockdown in April.
That we all like the health care plan that he'll reveal in about 2 weeks.
That is coming. I have it on good authority, young man.
But when?
In
2 weeks?
Look, you can doubt things all you want. All right. You can. Oh, ye of little faith. Do you not know that these are sacred days and sacred times? And the president is a sacred candidate of the evangelical right wing. That he is the man on high. He's the Ubermensch. He's the Godhead that they have been seeking all this time. And that it broke the 30,000 mark because that was a sacred number, according to him. He said that this week, that the breaking 30,000 was a sacred number. Never mind the fact that it broke after they certified the election for Biden, and clearly the whole
that's why the stock market took off. The whole world went,
oh, right. Okay. All right. Maybe my investments won't be just burning piles of money. Maybe all these things I'm investing in, these companies that I'm hoping will return, and therefore I can, a lot of people have taken what little money they have and they have put it in the stock market. There's been a lot of small-time investors, Robinhood kids as they're called, dumping, money for sort of the first time into the stock market right now because a lot of stocks hit bottom and they are functional companies that are worth a lot. So people looked at the worth of the company, said this stock is undervalued. I'm not going to turn this $1,200 into money, by, paying off my credit card quickly. That's not even going to help my credit. So maybe half of it goes to groceries, and I'll buy myself $600 worth of stocks that are at $1 that used to be worth $100, right? And maybe, just maybe, next year or the year after, if I just sit on it, I'll be able to make up some of the damage that was done in this. And there was a lot of those kind of decisions that have been made over the last 6 months. And the stock market has climbed up, and you can tell the way it's acting because the stocks that have done very well are what they call the FANG stocks, the sort of the 6 primary stocks that everybody goes to: Facebook, Apple, Alphabet, which owns Google, and N&G, whatever they are, Netflix, and then Google its own separate one or something like that. But either way, those are the primary ones. I don't invest in those, so I don't know. Those are the ones, the 6 major stocks that have led most of the growth in the stock market over the last 4 years, but also especially within the last little bit, which shows that people are doing consumer. And thank you, Julius, for the super chat. Appreciate that. Thank you. And good morning to everybody in the chat room. We're flowing smoothly today. I finally figured out what the problem was. Billy Hutchings, how are you? The Hutchings family turkey and dressing with cranberry sauce boil over fund is our official sponsor of the HSRPM today. The leftovers, the tryptophan leftover mental state that everyone is, that natural antidepressant that is turkey naps that everybody took. But these 6 major stocks have driven largely the growth that we've seen in the stock market over the Trump years, which is this kind of, and it's fundamentally in line with how the president views businesses. The big winners, you don't mess around with the little companies or little things or whatever. Go big or go home. And his followers and a lot of other people have sought in their investments to cater to and throw money at anything that they see as being a big winner, which is why Tesla had a bizarre bump this year, and why Facebook and Apple and all the, Apple becoming a $1 trillion company this year. No surprise, Amazon, that was the other A. It was FANG is spelled with 2 A's. But Amazon becoming a $1 trillion company, largely due to the fact that it is usurping business that is not being done by, storefronts, retail storefronts, because of the pandemic. That will, and we'll talk about some as the months go on. I have no doubt about the transformation of the retail landscape, shopping versus Amazoning. And I predict, like I predict a lot of things, that people will shop out of spite in a lot of ways. There will be a backlash to ordering from home on a good portion of the retail sector going forward, where people won't want to order stuff almost, even if they could, even if they've grown comfortable with the idea after we move past this pandemic and are able to, there's enough of the vaccine around, to buttress health across the country and protect us from a 15th wave. People will be going to the store just to go to the store. I'm going to the store, like freely and maskless, I'm going to the store. And there will be a big bunch of that next summer, next fall. Black Friday next year is going to be dangerous and insane, no doubt. But in the meantime, by the way, before we get close to the first break, and I have a cat hair in my eye, literally. That's fun. Johnny, did you partake in any Black Friday?
Not really.
No?
I got plenty of emails from every single company that I've ever shopped at.
That's right. That it's Black Friday. It used to be, Black Friday followed by Black and Blue Saturday, because everybody would be healing from the wounds they got trying to snatch a Cabbage Patch doll or right. get a fistful of Beanie Babies with the tag still on them, And I don't know if there is a special toy this year. I don't, besides the Xbox and the PS5,
PS5
obviously
is like the one I've heard of.
Yep. That'll be a curious thing, but and scalpers are buying up versions of them, but they're getting a leg up this year because of COVID, because they're camping out in front of stores, and there might have been in a non-pandemic year an opportunity for them to get these, but they'd have to stand in line with a bunch of other legit buyers, lots more people would be standing in line to buy a PS5 and stay out overnight and camp out. And we'd have all these lines like you had stuff about the original iPhone when it came out, or, when they didn't put a new one out every year, where people would stay out all night for the new one that was coming out, or when the Apple Watch first came out. Those kind of products where people line up to get the first ones. There's not, they don't have to compete with those crowds this time, the scalpers. They just have to be willing to take on that threat and have a bunch of cash sitting around and just buy up a bunch of them and sell them on eBay, make a little hefty profit. Now, that kind of chicanery is not just limited to retail sales. And the president has sort of been doing his own version of that. He tried it with voting this year. He was like, oh, my people will sit out front and sort of scalp votes, as it were. And Rudy Giuliani, and we've seen a bunch of that this week, has been filing case after case with Sidney Powell, who got left out of the whole team. She got removed from the team this week.
I'm so concerned for her.
Are you?
Yeah,
You mean her mental health, or just like you're afraid that she's going to attract crazies by being crazy, and they'll do that kind of dog hearing a zip whistle, head turn every time they see her. She understands me in a way no one else does. And if she says the wrong thing, then they snap and turn on her, which is the problem that Trump is having with a bunch of his, and the Republican Party in general is having with a lot of their supporters. We'll certainly address a lot of those things today. But I think the best part of Trump waking up his failure in his cup, I guess, is where we're going with this. Trump's, I'll save it for after the break. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about the Wisconsin case that just came down, and understand that Trump has spent $3 million on a recount and $20,000 a day on Rudy Giuliani. And apparently he's paying him with an IOU, though. I don't know that he's actually seen a check. But we'll talk about that when we come back. And the result was magnificent. It was worth every penny. We'll be back right after this. There we go. I have to reframe you if you're gonna relax over that side. There you go.
Sorry.
That's okay. You can tilt your camera. You can do whatever you want. I've got you kind of centered and Aump. Agomp.
I will be done after this.
Hi. Somebody just said, I freaking love deviled eggs. I do too. I used to think of deviled eggs as sort of a grandma dish. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like they'd have the grandma dish, and there was like, oh God, these stinky, spicy, hard-boiled eggs, this poor excuse.
I always associated them with ashtrays.
Yes, right. There'd be an ashtray right next to the deviled eggs, and it really didn't matter where you put your cigarette out.
Right.
Just grind it right in there.
But they're kind of great.
Yeah. And
you don't eat eggs.
Yes, I do. I'm omnivorous these days. Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and eggs, I've, been, friendly towards egg consumption for quite some time.
And my wife has been pescatarian, and it has included eggs.
Lacto-ovo, as it were, meaning eggs and dairy. Does she eat cheese? Yeah. So that's what used to be. There's all these subcategories, which in and of itself, I think this is a phase we're moving into, through, and out of, which is this bifurcation and trifurcation and septication, I guess, of the. What sliver of vegetarian, or what sliver of meat eater, or what sliver of it is,
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Mm-hmm. Welcome back, everybody. So, and welcome to everybody in the chat room. Hi, James and Richard and Billy and everybody. And it's
Billy.
Yeah, Billy. We love you, Billy. And I'm getting sort of rave reviews for the hair these days. Although I have to say, I've decided.
Me too.
Yeah, that's right, Johnny's. I've never been brave enough to shave my head. I haven't. I've never. You
could do it.
I could do it.
You can pull off anything you want to, Hal. You've got the confidence.
It's true. But because I don't know what my skull looks like. You don't know until right?
Well, I
You have a
mean,
ballpark.
you never know. But then, like, you could do. Rudy has had great success with
Giuliani?
painting.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, with
Just,
shellac or whatever that was, shoe polish, the old fashioned,
uh-huh.
like some 1930s character in a Three Stooges episode. I said this
Yes.
week that Trump's little breakdown in the East Room, I guess wherever they set up the kids' table for Thanksgiving in front of the fireplace that he did, which people have no doubt seen.
Oh, what an amazing little desk.
Oh, it was gorgeous.
Who can sneak that in? Like, that is an undercover troll.
Yes. Oh yeah. That's staff intentionally trying to mess with him. In a room,
Yeah.
by the way, in a room with 2 Christmas trees with no ornaments on them and no other furniture, where half the room is reporters and cameras and the other half of the room is him in front of like a bride or groom kind of little table.
Yeah.
And and where he starts flipping out a reporter. I'm the president of the United States. Don't talk to the president of the United States like that.
That's what that came from?
Yes, that's where he was. And let's understand that this is a big ego dump for this man who has always bragged he is the best of the best of the best at everything. He has the best words. He knows the best people. Everyone else hasn't succeeded not because they are it's difficult or there's been forces aligned against them or there's a mixture of political parties in this country and vacillating between those
Happen
two.
to be born into the bad zip code.
Yes, right. Those kind of things. That's not true. It's because they're stupid and he is smart. And and what is he smart at? Being clever enough to not play by the rules, and by rules we mean laws. But during that little, flip out, obviously there are staff who are trying to give him subtle hints that he is not long for this White House. And
What was the question that he was asked again?
he was asked, how do you feel about this being your last Thanksgiving in the White House? A very normal question, by the way, asked of nearly every president. Like it's almost,
and like immediately I've got his answer. I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to
yes,
serve this
is the
country
people's
to the best
house.
of my ability.
It's a beautiful experience. My family and I have had many great memories here.
So easy to be a person.
Yes, these are all these are the badminton shuttlecocks of questions. They are not hard to hit. They will not take
Nope.
out. They will not throw your shoulder out returning a serve. They are the easiest of easy softballs in this.
How dare you?
Yeah.
How
dare you? And he goes and he even said, I don't know if this is the last or the first of another term. Well, I got news for you. Even if he had another, yes, he did. And I responded to this live as I do on my stream because we went through this whole thing. I went, no, technically speaking, if you had a second term, next Thanksgiving would be the first of that term. These are not overlapping. He's not the first guy to figure out, oh my God, you actually served 7 years like that. Like,
Yeah.
anyways, so there is. I mean that in and of itself was miraculously embarrassing. It was a shameful sight. It was pitiful. It was incredible watching a grown man react to adversity that way as the president of the United States.
What must they think in New Zealand?
We don't have COVID, and we're all just fine. We're all doing fine down here, and we're just
Did you see
it's
her
all
press
fun.
conference after she talked to President-elect Biden?
No, I didn't. No, I missed
Oh,
that. One.
it's amazing. She's like, I congratulated him on his win. Insert New Zealand accent here.
Yeah,
I
right.
congratulated him on his win. It was a very warm call. He spoke very highly of New Zealand's response to COVID,
Right.
and I offered our resources to the United States. And I was just like, like international
Humanity, right? Just
humanity.
people. Yeah,
Like before he's in office,
right.
we're like making strides with relations.
Right. And like the fact that we would even be on the edge with New Zealand or Australia or any of our allies is just idiocy anyways. Like again, these are the badminton shuttlecocks of international diplomacy. You know what I mean? And Trump treats them like he's catching bullets in his teeth when he doesn't crap the bed talking to them. It's just It's embarrassing. So this week he thoroughly embarrasses himself in person. Again, these are behaviors that he displayed that I think you'd see in like an insane little league coach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He seems like
that's the vibe.
Like the kid,
that's the vibe.
The kid's dad, where the kid is okay, the kid is dealing, the kid knows the team lost, but the dad is threatening the father of the other team and starts yelling at the moms in the stands and then starts swearing and throwing stuff in the dugout at 9-year-olds. That's the energy the president of the United States is exuding right now. And we know it, and he knows it. To quote Dave Foley, dogs know it. The only person that doesn't know it is him. But this is...
Did Dave Foley say that about Trump?
No, it was from Brain Candy.
Oh, okay.
Where Scott...
We got to talk to him once, didn't we?
Oh, we talked... Yeah, we've talked to Dave. I run into Dave quite often, actually. Dave and I, oddly enough, audition for a lot of the same things. And
when I look at your headshots, I'm like,
totally.
Well, they're obviously going for the same roles.
Yeah, they're like age range, comedy, timing, sure, whatever. Like that's it.
Right.
That's all they're thinking. Happens all the time. And the funny thing is he always gets those things. If I go in and I see him, I'm like, he's getting this. They're expecting me to look like him.
Right.
What do you mean he's Dave Foley? Excuse you.
He's Dave Foley.
I know. I'm Hal Sparks.
I know.
I get a lot lot. Thank you very much. I know, I'm kidding.
But he's Dave Foley.
Look, don't talk to the host of the show that way. So, yeah.
It's hard for me because, like, I've known you since you were 16.
Yeah, that's right. And I was always
You're Hal. And so, like, when my friends come and they're like, you know Hal Sparks? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, so I heard his dad yell at him a bunch.
Answer me.
Yeah, right. We used to...
Remember that huge hole we put in the wooden floor of your house with the drum kit?
Yes, I do. I fixed it. That was bad.
That was really bad.
That was really bad. That was really bad. My dad is not, by the way, still angry about it. He doesn't carry it around. But I don't even think he remembers. But if we bring it up, he'll get just as mad as he was then. So best to not, in case he's watching. Okay. He occasionally, when my cousin watches the show, if my dad is over at the house, and because of COVID, they're doing slow moving to people's house, hang out for a little while, get tested, hang out for 3 days, then come home. Those kind of gatherings. Which if you're gonna do that, you stay within your normal circle, meaning that these people don't go outside their circle very much.
Right.
The kids have all been home, and we're all doing those kind of things, except Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell, and she released the Kraken this week. I will say that. The Kraken was released. Do you know about the Kraken being released?
Oh, wait. I did see something, but I don't know what it was.
Yeah, neither does she. That's the interesting part. She wrote it and she doesn't know what it is. It's like 100
pages. Kraken like all the evidence?
Yeah, well, it was her filing in Georgia and I think Pennsylvania at the same time. It was Georgia and Wisconsin. She filed a brief with these things to try and start a case up, aside from the Trump campaign's own loser lawsuits. Do we dare call them lawsuits? Former lawsuits? The artist formerly known as a lawsuit?
Yeah, does anybody really
know what time it is?
That election interference is what they're doing?
Yeah. I went so far as to say, a couple of times on the stream that I'm convinced that these are just bad Yelp reviews by the Trump campaign because they spent all their money on ES&S trying to throw the election. They bought votes. They hired hackers. They had Russia help them. They did everything they could. And the blue tsunami came and they still lost because we
cheated fair and square.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And we paid good money for this cheating, and I want my money back, which is effectively what they're complaining about. How did these Dominion machines, which print a receipt in most of the jurisdictions that they're doing, how can they be? How am I supposed to say there's no paper ballot when there's a paper ballot? Yeah.
Did you see the guy being interviewed on Fox News talking about Georgia? It's like, and they match. The software and the paper receipts match, and that's how but how do you know? Because they match.
Right, because we looked at them again. The
gold standard is the paper ballot.
That's right.
And it matched the software.
That's right. and that's where they're jumping on the whole, well, they were mailed in and we don't know what happened to the envelopes, even though the envelopes have a barcode on them that matches the ballot itself, which does not identify the contents of the ballot, simply that it made it through. So you can, if you mail in your ballot, check their website or their app and find out whether or not your ballot was received and whether your vote was counted. Not what your vote was, but that it followed the chain of evidence, as Rudy Giuliani would call it, and actually made it through, and you can go, good, my vote counted. I mailed it in. I was a little nervous, but it actually got all the way through.
I have a friend with dual citizenship in the UK who lived in Georgia and got to vote in Georgia, and she got to check on a website that said, "Oh, good, they counted my vote."
That's right, and that's because when you mail in your ballot, and we've gone through this a bunch of times on the stream over the course of the last couple of weeks because of these lawsuits, and it is embarrassing that I now know more about the laws about voting absentee and mail-in in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Georgia than Rudy Giuliani does, who has...
And how appeals courts work going to the Supreme Court.
Oh, yeah.
I now know that you cannot add evidence when you have an appeal.
Nope.
I didn't know that before.
No, you have to file a whole new thing because you have not had a remedy in a lower court. You've not sought remedy in the proper channels. You can't just.
But this is what they want is they want to lose. See?
Yeah, so so that we can really bring out the real evidence while selling fish oil, cigars, and home title lock, which are the three ads that Rudy Giuliani, which is his drag name. Persona? That's his drag name when Trump molested him in that weird video they have of each other.
Such a horrible video.
Oh, it's horrible. So let's take a break.
Judy Giuliani. God, that's such low-hanging fruit.
It is. How we missed this? I don't know. It just, it's the beauty of accidents. We got to take a break. We'll come back right after this. And I want to reveal to you exactly the results of the Wisconsin, the final legal thrashings of the Trump campaign in Wisconsin have bared fruit. There were votes that were not counted that have been counted. Dun, dun, dun. We'll be back right after this.
Oh, no. Wonder what happened.
Yeah.
Judy Giuliani. Holy guacamole.
Mm-hmm. Which,
I'm here for
I mean, how do you not... hold on, let's see. We go down here. That's mine. There you go. All right. Let's see. Nope, I want to do that. We'll do that later. So, I mean, Judy Giuliani is pretty. That's hashtag Judy Giuliani with that woman character that he did. Let's see if I can find the picture. And there you go.
That cannot be too hard to find.
No, it's not.
It's so distressing. I remember seeing that. Like when I heard about it, I was like, "Oh well, that's got to be fake."
And he sprays perfume on himself, and then Trump rubs his face and his breast.
Yeah. I forgot. Holy moly! It's a whole skit.
Yeah. Ish.
Oy vey.
Yeah. I'm horrified. I'm throwing, honest to God, hold on. I found one. Hold on. And we're going to go.
We now go live.
And gents, Judy Giuliani.
Am I going to my Twitter now?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Hashtag Judy Giuliani.
Oh, my Twitter changed.
It did?
It did. I had to abandon one.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there's a whole series of events. I'll tell you about another time.
My goodness.
But I'm now Johnny Million 1.
You're now Johnny. Okay, well, that's good. We got to change that then on all the markings.
Yes.
Yeah. Judith, yes. Don't forget Judith Giuliani and her divorce from Rudy Giuliani. Right.
All right, here we go.
Excellent.
Oh my God. I didn't remember it being this bad.
It's that bad. It is that bad.
This is Doris Davenport, host of the Doris Davenport Show. All local, all the time. Now let's get back to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I'll fix that. I'll make us more even if it makes you feel better about the whole thing.
I have a really large head anyway.
Yeah, I was trying to point that out and make that kind of obvious to
Mission accomplished.
There we go. Now we both have near normal sized craniums, which is not true to reality. You have to be watching the stream to know what the heck we're talking about. But now our heads are nearly the same size, which is not.
He's gonna cry himself to sleep tonight.
Huge pillow.
Huge pillow.
So Donald Trump, the campaign, the Trump voters, the maggots and Trumpsters who have been dumping their money into Trump's legal challenges, and only the ones who've given him $8,000 already, because only the $8,001st and beyond will go to the partially 50%, I suppose, or 40% technically, to the Trump Legal Defense Fund or Legal Election Attack Fund. Never defend, always attack.
Legal election attack
fund. That's right. I mean, that's basically what it is. He's attacking a legal election, right?
Yeah.
So he dumps $3 million into a recount in Wisconsin, and let's see. This is from Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Clearly a left-wing mainstream media,
leftist Marxist,
absolutely piece of basically I found it like an Antifa dude was handing them out on a street corner, printed on yellow paper.
Right.
Yeah. The Milwaukee County presidential recount wraps up with Biden adding to his margin over Trump. That's right. Mr. Business, Mr. I'm a billionaire not because I inherited millions from my father and borrowed millions to stay afloat from my relatives and was bailed out by Mark Burnett, who made me into a pretend businessman. No. It's because I'm super smart. I know how to invest. I know the smartest people, and I'm smarter. I know more about ISIS than the generals. I know more about money than the accountants, and I know
Mark Burnett needs to be held accountable for all of this.
Yeah, he does. Milwaukee County's recount of the presidential election vote tally came to an end Friday, with Democratic President-elect Joe Biden adding 132 votes to his margin of victory over President Donald Trump in Milwaukee County. In all, Biden gained 257 votes and Trump added 125. The results came Friday evening, 7 days after the effort to recount nearly 460,000 ballots cast in the county began at the downtown Wisconsin Center. The final tally totaled 459,723. Before the recount, Biden had 317,270 votes in Milwaukee County to Trump's 134,357. The recount boosted the totals to 317,527 for Biden and 134,482 for Trump. This is pretty specific. You know what I mean? This is not ballpark. And while, Trump has had Giuliani on the air and on OAN, the Orange Anus network, and on, Newswax, selling this storyline that thousands and thousands, and we have thousands of things they're all thousandsing. If there's one, there's five. If there's five, there's 20. If there's 20, there's 100. If there's 100, there's 1,000. If there's 1,000, there's 100,000. This is the math that they're using.
I can't show you any of them.
I can't show you any of them, and because they won't let me. And these people, won't let me enter their affidavits in court. They'll just allow me to wag them around. It's the weirdest defense I've ever seen. Offense. It's offensive, so it has to be. It's an offense. Yeah. It's not a defense. Offensive. It's very offensive. So, 132 more votes went to Biden, which I stand by my statement and my challenge that in any situation where you do a full recount, in any state, and I would recommend you go to Texas and Florida and Kentucky next. If you do a full count and you guarantee that all votes that were cast were counted, you are only going to add to Biden's votes.
Yeah.
The only votes that were thrown out surreptitiously and that were illegally not counted were Biden votes. In Pennsylvania in particular, one of the things, and this was, the Pennsylvania ruling came back, three judge panel, 2 Bush appointees, 1 Trump appointee, all unanimous. All of them stomped a mud hole in their argument and marched it dry. The appeals, like his own appointee wrote a scathing rebuke of their attempt to scuttle the election. Literally, Trump's own person that he put in was offended at their attack on the integrity of elections in the state of Pennsylvania, as he should be.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that Trump is having right now. Trump doesn't realize, I don't think, that the Heritage Foundation gave him a list of judges, and Mitch McConnell let him shoehorn them straight in so that they could get him in. But these are, for the most part, but for the rare religious conservative, traditional conservatives. And many of them, especially the ones who've gotten lifetime appointments, like Amy Coney Barrett and the like, don't care about Trump anymore. They don't need him. And as a matter of fact, they're not going to add, if Trump stays in office, they're not going to add another Supreme Court justice. They're not going to lose one and he won't be able to add one. There's not, more than likely, we're not going to add another Supreme Court justice during Biden's first term because of the age of everyone involved.
Right.
The only shot they have, interestingly enough, is if Trump loses, runs again in 2024, and somebody has aged, in 8 years, in the middle of his term, in 6 years, in the middle of his next term, where, if he wins, that they would be able to put somebody in. By then, they, again, won't even need him. They've done the lifetime damage they need to do. And again, those people care more about the Republican Party and their conservative ideals than they do about Donald Trump. And that's the part he doesn't understand. That's the thing that he's flipped out about with a split ticket. That's how he doesn't understand how Biden got 80 million votes and why the Republicans added people in the House and may have maintained the Senate majority by a hair's breadth. And the reason is because a lot of Republicans split the ticket. They voted for their Republicans they voted for Susan Collins and they voted against him at the exact same margin. Biden got every Obama voter from last time, every new voter who's aged into voting that would have voted for Obama, and
every African American woman ever.
Yeah, right. And a ton of Republicans who can't stand Trump but still love their party, who voted for Republicans in the House, even if they're as awful as Trump. They're seen as a check on Biden, and they voted for their Republican senator. But they did not. Where they may have held their nose last time and given him a shot because he was the Republican nominee and he'll become presidential and he'll learn his lesson and he'll become better and all that, all those stories they were told during the early part of the primary and the late part of the election about Donald Trump never came true, and they've regretted ever since. And they're like, nope, the only chance I have to salvage my party is to vote against him or for Biden specifically, because they actually do think he'll reach across the aisle and become an American president for everyone, which their conservative values align with naturally as well. Even if they don't align with all the programs Biden is presenting, their conservative values do align with a true democracy. They just have different policy ideas. Those people voted against Trump this time. They didn't not vote. They voted against him. They voted for Biden to the tune of 80 million voters plus, by the way. And like I said, go anywhere, recount anywhere, and you will find more Biden votes. Because in the Pennsylvania, and this is the case, which I think is the one they hit the most because it's got the most electoral votes. That's why they were hitting Pennsylvania so hard. 20 electoral college votes. You get that one, you don't need 2 other states. This is the manipulation that they're shooting for. And if you get that one, you knock down Biden, and then you get one other state like Arizona, which or Georgia, where you think the Republicans will scuttle it for you. Maybe you got a shot at tying this up. Then the Congress does. Like, this is the fantasy they have in their head about how this is going to play out. And I have news for you. It won't.
No.
It's not going to work. It is not. And the process. Okay, so a federal appeals this is the by the way, this is from Daily Beast. A federal appeals court has shot down the Trump campaign's attempt to overturn the election result in Pennsylvania, with the judge appointed by the president writing the scathing decision for the three. He wrote he wrote this. It wasn't one of the Bush appointees that wrote the actual decision. The dude who drafted it up is the Trump appointee on this 3-panel Supreme Court. The third judge on this 3-judge panel. Free, fair elections are the lifeblood of our democracy. Charges of unfairness are serious, but calling an election unfair does not make it so.
Isn't that amazing?
Charges require specific allegations and then proof. We have neither here. Listen to this. Beyond just we don't have proof, which is any judge that throws out a case will say it is not proven here.
Right.
Even the specific allegations are missing. That's the amazing part of their filing, is that there is no specificity to their argument in any of their allegations. It is a generalized, it's unfair, Your Honor, that these people were not allowed to watch the elections. Well, how many people were there? A non-zero number. Well, the non-zero number, when they checked, is 200. There were 200 election judges and poll watchers watching the envelopes being separated from the ballots, judging signatures, people who did it every election, many people who've done it many times, that have filled out the paperwork, have done all the hard work of being an election judge on the Republican and Democratic side. And everyone that Rudy Giuliani brought as extra evidence, which was he had hundreds of affidavits, but only presented two. The two cases that they brought in Pennsylvania as part of it, the two particular individuals who believed that they were denied rights. Do you know what they believed their right was denied? Do you know what they?
Do tell. I don't know specifically.
Well, I do, because I've watched Rudy Giuliani's stupid common sense YouTube show a dozen times. I've only streamed 4 of them. But every time I'm like, all right, if he's got evidence, I'm going to want to know what it is.
Right.
I'm going to want to know.
Citizen.
What's the rebuttal to this? Is this a serious consideration? Should I be worried as a Democratic voter that they have some instance, where the people of Philadelphia were throwing the rules to the wolves and they didn't pay any attention, and there's a gap here where they could wiggle into things? I want to hear the real evidence. Let's bring it. And I'll sit back and let you say it. I want to hear the whole thing. That's what you do in a debate. I need to hear your whole argument so I know what the weaknesses are and the strengths are, so I know how to deal with it, and I can either absorb the strengths or refute them to my peril, because I don't know, I would have to make up facts that are false in a debate to refute true facts. That's how it's not
alternative facts.
Yeah, you have to create your alternative facts, right? Which I'm not willing to do, but I'm going to be aware of what's being said. So, Two individuals, and we got to take a break. 2 individuals that brought suit through the Trump campaign and through the RNC believe that they were denied the right to have their ballots cured. They signed their ballots and their signatures were thrown out because they did not match the signatures when they registered to vote. These two men that they brought in these affidavits from. Now, these 2 men they live in a red county, a county that went for Trump 60-40.
Okay.
And in the filing of their suit, they believe that because Philadelphia, Erie, and Pittsburgh cured ballots, they called people up and said, "Hey, your signature's a little wonky. Did you sign this? Is this you?" Which is how you check for fraud, by the way, as well as helping people who legitimately want to vote.
Which is a word that they will not say in court.
No, they won't, because they can't. Wait, we got to take a break. I'll finish the rest of this, because these guys, it's beautiful. The reasoning behind this is amazing, and why the phrase "race to the bottom" was used to describe the argument by the Trump campaign and the RNC. We'll be back right after this. Yeah, these aren't even.
They've been forced to say this is not a fraud case.
Yes. Yeah, that we're not alleging fraud. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Johnny, show everybody your finger trick real quick. Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You're the only person I know in the world who can do that, like, naturally. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure I could CG it, and I could do it over time, Like,
yeah,
but you could do it. It's like windshield wipers.
I practiced it as a lonely teenager.
You definitely did. You've been doing it since high school. So it's like rolling a quarter across your knuckles. I can do that. And it's because
so cool.
The reason I don't have one around, but the reason I can do it is because I saw Val Kilmer do it in Real Genius and Steve Martin do it in Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. And I was just like, I don't know how long this is going to take, but I'm going to figure out how to do it. And then I broke this finger. It's got 3 screws in it and it's wider than the others. So to rehab my hand and get my dexterity back, that was one of the tricks I used because it wouldn't extend for a while. So but I could practice making sure that the tendons here didn't get stiffened.
We've all seen the X-ray.
Oh yes, we have. It's on the album. That's right.
That's right.
It's on 01's record. Yeah. So Ninka Crinkles can do the quarter trick too. It's very cool. It's a good one. It's a good one to have.
It looks so good.
It is. Yeah, it's a good time. And your hands can't be clean, like freshly washed, because it'll stick. It'll grip to your fingers, and your fingers have to be kind of normal oil from normal wear. It doesn't have to be dirty, obviously, but they have to be kind of normal,
slippery.
Yeah. Otherwise, it just drags on one particular. And then you have to go thump, and it just looks dumb. Yeah.
All right, we're coming back.
Yeah. And welcome to the show, everybody.
This is Damian Perdue of Think Theory Radio. Saturdays at 6 p.m. You're listening to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So when you break it all down. Is the attack, the legal attack? I don't think the legal defense fund is. So the legal attack fund, that the illegal legal attack fund, election attack fund, whatever we're going to call it, that the Trump campaign and that the RNC has been giving him a little bit of a heft with, and failing miserably, by the way, because the problem the RNC has is if the election gets thrown out and they have another one, it's going to be hard to marshal the same kind of vote again. And down ticket, they did fairly well in a lot of these states. And they have to redo those and spend some money that they won't have for the midterm, right? Because they got to do this all over.
We're really bad at rigging elections as Democrats. We let so many Republicans win.
I know. It's so weird. But that's how we did it. They're rhinos. And it's really just, they're deep staters, something. Anyways, okay.
All coming together.
So these two guys, as I was saying before the break, these two guys that the Trump campaign is acting on their behalf as part of their 2-person class action, 3-person, Trump and these two dudes. Their class action lawsuit is that in the big cities, in the urban areas, in Philadelphia and in Pittsburgh and Erie specifically, the elections boards in those counties cured ballots. If your signature was off, they called you up if you're a registered voter and said, "Is this you? Did you sign this ballot?" And the person on the phone would say yes, and they go, "Okay, can you come down here and either sign a new envelope, or and re-vote,
right,
or sign an affidavit that this was indeed you."
Right.
And this is one of the ways that you guarantee that there wasn't any kind of fraud, by curing ballots. Because if somebody had forged your signature on the envelope and sent in, a vote for someone else, that would show up. You would go, "I didn't vote. I didn't send that in. I was going to vote in person." All this stuff, the fantasy story that Trump's been telling. So, these big cities went further towards curing these ballots, and therefore further towards guaranteeing that these were legit ballots. Because if you've got a big vote faking machine, the last thing you want is a bunch of canvassers calling people and saying, "Is this really you?" randomly, and taking, random votes throughout. It's a terrible way to forge an election, right? So these two guys are in red counties. Now, in the red counties in Pennsylvania, they didn't bother to cure a lot of ballots. If it was even a little bit off, they just threw it out because they assumed most of the mail-in ballots would be for Biden. So why would they count them? And the few Republican votes that they threw out would be dwarfed by the volume of Biden votes that would come in that would be added to the statewide total. And so by scuttling as many mail-in votes as possible, just on every little technicality they possibly could, and not attempting to cure them, the red states diminished, grouped together, and if there's a conspiracy you want to speak of, this would certainly be one of them, where they conspired to lower Biden's vote count by being more egregious in their discounting of mail-in votes and less apt to cure them, if at all. And these two guys, their signatures did not match, and their votes got thrown out, and they never got the opportunity to cure their ballot. And they believed that because that people in Philadelphia were allowed to cure their ballots, they were denied a right. And therefore, the remedy sought in court by the Trump campaign and Rudy Giuliani, even though he didn't have the right to be in court as one of their attorneys, so he just had to sit there and pass Post-it notes, was that anyone whose ballot was cured should not be counted as a fraudulent ballot because it was not, they were given a right that was not given in the red counties, meaning that all the red counties had to do was insist on not curing ballots, get this win, and from that point on, whatever standard they set as the absolute lowest for vote protection in the red counties would therefore have to be applied to the large metropolitan areas where most of the voters live. So a county of 400 people could set the voting rules for a city of 1.2 million. And this is the rule. This is what they were attempting to do. And this is why Trump's own appointee and the other two judges that were Bush appointees were horrified at their attempt to throw out millions of votes, specifically hundreds of thousands in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, but scuttling the vote statewide and basically saying we need a fresh vote and no mail-in votes, and it all has to be in person, and they have to schedule a new one because we believe that because these two guys were denied the right to vote, that by a red county, that not that their votes should be counted. We're not filing so that two more Trump voters can have their vote counted. We're filing so that anyone who got a privilege that they didn't get because their own people were trying to scuttle this election for Biden, were trying to make sure he didn't win, that the people in Philadelphia would have to live under the same laws and representation as the people in the red county. So you live in Philadelphia, you vote for your city council, you vote for your representative in the state senate, your aldermans. I don't know how they're kind of, I don't know how Chicago-like their setup is, but you vote for all those people. And those people play a part in the voting machines that come to your district, where they're going to be set up, what qualifies as a space by state law, and what you will use, your choice of schools, churches, firehouses, whatever you're using as your polling places. They play a part in that. And so what the Trump campaign and the RNC was arguing is that the Philadelphia voter who chooses their people to choose the space that they will vote in will now be subject to the voters of a red county with a minuscule number of voters. They will supersede whoever you voted for in your electoral privilege.
These are the two affidavits.
These are the two affidavits that they applied, and they were trying to get all the votes thrown out based on the fact that in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, they called people up and said, are you a legit voter? Is this really your signature? And those people said, yes. And they said, good, come on down with a photo ID, sign an affidavit, and we'll count your vote. And they said, okay. And they did. And the red states didn't because they didn't want any of the mail-in ballots to count. So they threw out as many as they could. And they're pissed. That's the case. That is, and the judges were rightly horrified. The three-judge panel noted that the campaign's grievances mounted to, quote, nothing more than allegations that Pennsylvania restricted poll watchers, which is the 500 people stormed the poll, the vote counting places. And it wasn't even polls. They weren't there to watch the polls because that's not part of it. They were there to watch the tallying of the votes, which they already had 200 election judges there in the room. And they
Is that part of the non-zero?
That's the non-zero argument. And then the other one was that these letting voters fix technical defects in their mail-in ballots, curing ballots. The campaign tries to repackage these state law claims as unconstitutional discrimination, yet its allegations are, quote, vague and conclusory, meaning they don't really say anything at all, but they make drastic conclusions about the meaning of these, tufts of air from Rudy's legal backside. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after the news and a couple of sponsors, and we'll take your calls. 773-763-9278 is our number. We're live streaming also on twitch.tv/HalSparks. Subscribe if you're an Amazon Prime member, which a lot of people are. You can subscribe to the channel for free. Amazon Prime doesn't cost you a dime. It's nice. We'll be back right after this. Mm-hmm. This is my AirPods. These are my original, when these first came out, Apple AirPods, and the battery has started to fade on these. I've had these a few years. The battery has just started to decay, I think, in them. You know what I mean? Like they just. I charge them up. I put them in the case. I take them out. I'm on for like a half hour, and then they go. Doo, 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 doo. That weird little. I'm running out of battery noise.
Yeah, it's
depressing.
So terrifying and sad.
Yeah.
When you hear that.
Yeah. So and then I have my AirPod Pros that I got a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago. I don't know.
I've never written any AirPod Pros.
Pros, like just stories about, a couple of poems. No
I
pros.
Can't believe I lost one again.
I wrote a dirty limerick about my AirPods, but never any pros. That's right.
I went to pick them up and they were stickers on the floor. God damn it! Fell for it again.
Yeah, that's right. Bartleby the listener.
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks. We had to study that in school. That was one of the. Yeah. I very distinctly remember that was one of the weird.
Not to.
I would prefer not to. What a ratty human being he was, and got his comeuppance. That's what you get for eating a bit of cheese and something. I remember what he ate for dinner.
Oh yeah,
like a bit of cheese and a dry piece of ham or something like that. But I remember it being very disgusting, and then realizing as an adult. I had eaten that for dinner several times.
Huh. I do love a bit of cheese.
A bit of cheese. Yeah, it could be all right. Bit of all right. Have you had the drunken goat cheese?
No.
You've never had drunken goat cheese?
Is that a brand or a style?
It's a style. It's a wine cured goat cheese. It's very fancy. It's very la-di-da. But it's not. I mean, I don't know my cheeses. I know most of the cheeses I know are from the cheese shop sketch in Monty Python. I literally only know the names.
Right, and they come and when I hear them in the real world, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a cheese that John Cleese mentioned.
That's right. Yeah. Camembert.
It's a bit runny.
I don't care how.
Oh yeah, it was Michael Palin, wasn't it?
Yes. I don't care how excremently runny it is.
Michael Palin owned the shop, right?
Yes, he did.
John Cleese
enters. Yeah. I'm all hungry like. Became a bit
It's
peckish.
the single most popular cheese in the world.
Not around here, sir. Anyways, I forget where I was, but I remember the only time I've ever been recommended cheese by anyone. You know what I mean? Like, I don't run in those kind of circles. I mean, I know some fancy pants people, but they're all fancy pants like me who were either poor or ass-dragging comedians or actors who finally made it, broke through at some point. But it wasn't because their parents were rich and they didn't grow up with money. So if anything they found that added, kind of creature comforts to their life in the act of being wealthy in their lives was new. You know what I mean? It wasn't, they weren't new money assholes by any means, but they were like, it didn't come from like, our family only does cranberry goat. Yes, Kia does it well. Whatever. That kind of, a brie, but only at room temperature. It's just not done there. Brie was ruined for me by Queer as Folk.
Oh no.
Yeah. Sharon Gless has a line about it. I'm sure the chat will tell you.
Yeah, okay.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when it was being so charming.
Video streaming at HalSparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Puss-faced little pimp stick. True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
So, besides speaking of cheeses over the break, one of the things that I would argue from now on, all campaigns listening to the sound of my voice, and quite honestly, there are a few, and they're not all on my side, just for the record. I would recommend to you that any cases you file in future, seek to add votes to your side, not scuttle votes of anyone else, be they independents or the opponent party in your election, because as we become more electronically savvy, as the elections using electronic voting machines have over time increasingly begun to use a paper ballot version of backup. The concern with voting machines initially when they first came out was you should get a receipt. When you come up there, you would get a receipt out of everything else. I should get a receipt for who I voted for. Well, then your vote is no longer private. You leave the space with evidence of your vote. Now there's twofold problems with that. One is the emotional and social pressure that families and other groups have felt to prove their vote. The old version is the violent husband who forces his wife to vote for the candidate he wants and wants proof that she did so. Either, by in the case of the president and Melania, peeking over the side as she votes, insisting that she vote in the next booth next to him and watching as she does it, or by coming back and going, I have a copy of the vote that I did, or something.
I'm starting to not like this Trump guy.
Yeah, I mean, he wears on you after a while.
After a while. So
the vote, the stub that you voted is one thing, but a reference to your actual vote would violate the privacy of voting for, again, twofold. One is you can be coerced into, emotionally or physically into voting a way you would not normally vote by a relative or a family member or your boss. Bosses could insist that their workers, like, you guys better come in here and show me who you voted for, or you're going to get fired. Because if you can bring an actual receipt, that's one of the fears. And people could insist on doing it. And if they, how can they get caught? If everybody falls in, this shop gets scuttled, everybody's going to lose their job. So everybody would. This is the 1930s version of this problem. The other issue with a digital receipt in the modern era is paying people to vote a certain way. Is that the simplest way that this becomes a problem is that people come out with proof that they voted a certain way. They have a receipt in their hand, not one that went to the electoral board and was stored, but one that they carry themselves. They can walk right out the front door, dude hands them $100. And that's, or they go to a specific location, bring your receipt, and you're going to, find that this dude will pay you if you voted for this person. Mm-hmm. And they could go, I'm just paying people, I'm giving $100 of appreciation for true voters. But then it ends up being that people vote who may not have wanted to vote or didn't vote legitimately, but they did it just to get the $100. And this is honestly the two concerns about the receipt-based idea of the original debold machines and stuff like that we were all found to be very sketchy in the hanging chads nonsense of the early 2000s. Now, one of the updates and one of the ways that electoral, county boards and electoral systems in states all over the country have come up with a solution, which is you get a printed version that you get to look at. You get to review. You as the voter at that moment get a printed out version. You look at it and go, yep, that's how I voted. That goes in an envelope. That goes to the poll watcher that's there, or the poll attendee, whatever the person running the thing and helping you sign up, check in at the poll. That goes in an envelope. And then later on, if the count that the machine gave to the database that says this is how many came through, because you did it digitally, a digital version says you voted this way. If there's any discrepancy, they got a paper version. That's stored with the county so that your privacy is still maintained, and so that kind of manipulation can't happen. And as we grow as a country, and we are in the year 2020, for crying out loud, 10 years after the year we made contact, according to Arthur C. Clarke, that this is increasingly how these systems are going to go. That the broad-based use of this kind of system, because of how fundamentally easy it was to check these votes in a lot of these states and confirm, yes, indeed, that was the actual number. And in the case of mail-in ballots, there's a symbol on the mail-in ballot that came in that was checked off by the computer that, yes, indeed, we did receive a receipt of this, and yes, indeed, the ballot associated with it did indeed vote. It doesn't say what the vote was, but that it followed the chain of command. That is increasingly becoming more secure. And when the Rudy Giulianis of the world are attacking the system all over the place, your argument needs to be a lot better. It needs to be a lot smarter, and you have to be keenly aware of the fine points of the law in each of these states and how they differ, because there will be variant changes. And in the case of Rudy Giuliani, they filed paperwork confusing Michigan and Minnesota. Not the rules, the actual states. The Kraken that was released, this attack on, releasing, by the way, sections of these, referencing many of these affidavits that, by the way, Rudy Giuliani has ceased to mention in a lot of their filings. This piece of paperwork, this wine-stained attack on our electoral integrity, released by Sidney Powell, besides, like I said, misspelling the word district in the first sentence 2 different ways. Did you see that? Oops. Why do I not hear you? Are you muted? Oh, you did. You muted.
No, I muted me because I was typing. I'm sorry. Yeah, in the heading.
In the heading, she misspells district twice, 2 different ways.
Like in ways that it's not like the that's an acceptable spelling in another area.
Yeah, it's like your head slammed into the keyboard, rolled over, and your ear hit return, and you just heard whoosh, and your mail went out, and you're like, oh no, it mailed away, it went. So this and by the way, have I read the whole thing? No, I've read enough of it though. I went through a good portion of it, and I'm like, this is gibberish. And the attacks and all the stuff that she's making that kind of bounced their way through Rudy Giuliani and into the president's mouth as he sat at the kids' table for Thanksgiving and raged against the dying of the light, are as ridiculous in the legal filings as they are when they're just kind of rolled out of Rudy Giuliani's mouth between ads for knee salve and cigars. This
he makes a cigar look good though.
Does he?
No.
He looks like, it reminds me of Nothing But Trouble, the underrated Dan Aykroyd movie, which, by the way, has a guest by Digital Underground, including Tupac Shakur. I think his last movie. Very possible.
Is that the one, like the creepy one?
Yes, it's very creepy. He takes his nose off. Yeah, and John Candy plays his wife. They have these 2 characters, Bobo and Little Devil, who live out in the junkyard or not allowed in the house. It's really weird. But in it, he screams when Chevy Chase lights a cigar, he goes, "Put out that dog rocket." And I can't not think that line every time I see Rudy Giuliani smoking a dog rocket. So these the reality of this case is that Pennsylvania is their Hail Mary. This is the one they have to win. This is the one, by the way, they believe is going to make it to the Supreme Court. Now, yesterday, at least this was the thought, that they were going to try and have this issue in Pennsylvania bump its way up to the Supreme Court. Now, the problem with it is that it's the one that failed the the worst. And like you said earlier, John, you can't add new evidence or new allegations on an appeal to the Supreme Court. You can't just keep stacking on your way up, and you can't go before the Supreme Court and go, we also want to allege. You're like, no. If you want to allege that, you go right back down to the bottom of the court, you start from scratch and file your evidence. Because if it's real evidence, the judge in charge of that district will handle it. You know, you don't have standing until you've gone through the process. You can't just keep stacking stuff on your way up, hoping it sounds more horrible. When if you actually have a case, you have room in the legal system to go do that, right? So the campaign, this is according to the opinion, the campaign tries to repackage these state law claims as unconstitutional discrimination, yet its allegations are vague and conclusory. It never alleges. This is the case put forth by the Trump campaign and the RNC, millions of dollars, multiple cases that they put forward. And they've all gotten thrown out, and they refile, and they change, and they add stuff, and they refile, and they finally got one up to the state Supreme Court. And this is the judge's reading of Rudy Giuliani et al.'s case they filed and the arguments they made in court. In court, not what they say on their website, not what they say in front of a bunch of state legislatures in a Ramada hotel conference room. This is what they filed in court.
That's not good.
No. And the opinion says it never alleges that anyone treated the Trump campaign or Trump votes worse than it treated the Biden campaign or Biden votes. They don't even make that claim. That's not the judge saying, you do not prove that anyone, but they say this, they don't even try to say that. The campaign itself, Rudy Giuliani and I guess when Sidney Powell was part of this and that whole crowd, they've written up these drafts, they've filed these things, they've gone to court. And in the process of all this, they have never alleged that a Trump voter was treated worse than a Biden voter. Not once. How do you bump that up to the Supreme Court? How do you expect the Supreme Court to take this up? Now, here's the thing. Are these a waste of time? Absolutely. Are they an offense to our electoral system and our judicial system? Absolutely. Do I want them to keep doing this? Absolutely. Because it's expensive and pointless. And every dime that Trump spends throwing down Rudy Giuliani's tucked pants is another dollar that isn't going to go to the Georgia recount from the RNC, not the recount, the Georgia runoff, and is, not going to pay the rent at Mar-a-Lago or Bedminster.
All this money is coming from his ignorant donors.
That's
who
right.
Think that they're like on some sort of mission.
That's right. So the decision comes after Pennsylvania already certified President-elect Joe Biden as the winner. And it makes clear that Trump does not have a legal leg to stand on in contesting the outcome. The court said it would not issue an injunction to undo the certification because, quote, the campaign's claims have no merit. This is 2 Bush judges and 1 Trump judge. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's progressive talk, the one and only. WCPT820.com is their website. All your favorite liberal talkers are there. You can catch them all during the week. Program it into your car radio, program it into you can just have the website drawn up on your phone, and if that's how you Apple play through stuff, do what you got to do. We'll be back. This is this is a running I mean basically Rudy Giuliani is his goal is to be, I guess, a sight gag? Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Whether it's his goal or not.
It's going to happen. So, yeah. So, this is, I got to say, I do, and I have enjoyed watching the sort of flailing Schadenfreude of the entire exercise. You know what I mean? This is I like seeing his increased frustration. I think there's some danger that he'll do some crazy stuff, but I think, quite frankly, there are plenty of lifers around that will keep him from diving for the football or something. But I have no doubt that he and that Pompeo met with MBS and Netanyahu to assassinate that physicist in Iran.
Yeah.
In an attempt to keep Biden from being able to re-enter a deal with the Iranians, because it would drive the Iranians to, have a vengeful stance towards the United States. So it would, it would scuttle that ability. So, yeah.
We're back in 1 minute, and we have phone calls.
Excellent. So and I'm scrolling back. Pardon me. I have a let's see. Here you go. Dunk-a-dunk. Who they are burning pics of Trump and Biden? Who are? Oh, in Iran?
Iran.
And? I mean, it is presumed that the hit squad that killed the guy are Iranians. That's I think the last targeted assassination that happened, the Israelis used Iranians as well.
This is Tom Hartman, and you're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT.
That's absolutely true. And Tom Hartman, we love you. We do. Only man I've ever known who's thrown out his shoulder writing longhand.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think he's the only person in history who's gotten a call from the Library of Congress going, "Could you knock it off? Give us a break. Seriously, we're running out of shelf space. What's wrong with you? Please, we're gonna have to start throwing out stuff from the 1600s that we've been preserving." Because it's, first in, last out, I guess. First in, first out. So, all right. We have callers, actually. 773-763-9278 is our number. Who do we have first?
Up first is Ike.
Ike! Look at that! Ike, there he is.
Hey, old man.
How are you, brother?
Hooray for our side, right?
Yeah, man. It was a long time coming.
Yeah, I kind of got towards the burnout phase, and then after the crescendo hit, I just kind of melted for a while and just taking it easy right at the moment. But
please do.
Fattening the curve, hiding out. Yeah, fattening the curve, growing my face, hiding out from the idiots out there that don't know to wear a mask.
Right.
Just taking it easy. Give you a little trivia. Yeah, we got the blind ballot box from the Australians. That's where it came from.
Yeah.
And another thing,
a criminal colony of the Brits.
Hey, they've got a lot to be said for themselves, considering they were started by a bunch of criminals.
That's right.
But I was going to say one other thing we have in common. I grew up in Metro Atlanta.
Right.
And I lived there for many years on and off, but I called it home. I grew up there.
Sure.
And I finally one day I got the hell out of there. I just couldn't take it anymore. The traffic, the cops, going to jail. It was ridiculous.
Okay.
Every time you turn around, you can get in trouble in Atlanta.
Huh. Well,
come to find out later on, what Georgia has in common with Australia. Do you know what that is?
No, not peaches. I don't know. Pitch trees.
At the beginning of the Revolutionary War.
Oh, okay.
When we were fighting against England, Georgia was King George's prison colony. That's where he sent the prisoners from England.
So it's an ironic name, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and then when he couldn't send them to Georgia anymore because of the war, that's when he sent them to Australia.
That's fascinating.
So in a way, Georgia actually started the country of Australia.
That's fascinating.
Just a little trivia I know from having traveled there and, whatever. But
all right.
Listen, here's a little other nugget. None of this is on topic, but maybe
that's
some
okay.
of it is.
Yep.
But here's one last little nugget before I go.
Sure.
Just for everybody out there, hey, chat room, you guys, I'm still in touch with Gaz Duck and Wes and all the people in there.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. But here's something to think about. This Parler thing and started by Mercer and some of these other little things that they've set up, like on my Vizio TV, it was preloaded and it's got that damn OAN.
Right.
It's got America First and all this other garbage on there on the internet side. To me, it's almost like the same thing that was happening with talk radio that everybody ignored. Yep. And they kind of laughed at it and let it grow itself its own way. They didn't figure it'd ever turn out to be anything. We better learn better. We better have already learned our lesson.
Right.
You can't let these people run unchecked. And here's my suggestion, Hal. I wish somebody that is computer savvy could put together something similar to Progressive Voices like what we have now.
Yep.
But instead of the way that it is give me a database or give me an app that I can go to that gives me the listing of all the liberal shows that are on at any given time that are live, that take calls and list their numbers.
That's cool.
And that way I think, we'd have a bigger community, and we could, the more traffic that each one of these people get, and particularly the calls. I don't know about you, but I love to hear the callers.
I agree.
That's the main reason. That's the main reason I listen to C-SPAN in the mornings because I like to hear. I really enjoy since they lost the election. I've really enjoyed hearing what they've got to say.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, it gives you a window into the different parts of the country and what people are thinking and what's going on and what et cetera. So. It's just an idea. I've always wished I had something like that. The closest thing I ever found was the MIT radio locator, but it didn't break down shows and formats and things.
I absolutely agree. There needs to be a broad move in media by liberal and progressive voices, and and I mean it's always been tough too because the fight, it's much easier when you build a network or something on a direct fight against another human being. It's way more difficult if you're built on inclusion. I mean, we look at Democracy Now!, which is a great channel, and I can't tell you how highly I think of Amy Goodman specifically.
Yep.
Always have. As a KPFK listener, I would literally, when I had no money, I would sign up for their movie, to subscribe to their movie thing. Because I'm like, all right, I'll swap out me paying for movies for a year to pay them so that I'll go watch movies that they allow me to watch. Like just anything I could give to the station. That said, their system is based so large, so much on inclusion and as it should be, that it is a harder dramatic sell in media. That this is one of the issues they've always had. Whereas if you're Rush Limbaugh and you just paint the other side as evil and then you take a break every so often and sell, I don't know what he sells, sleeping pills. What does he sell? But Teddy Ruxpin's evil Teddy Ruxpin's that recite the Constitution backwards. I don't know, but honestly, it's way easier to build a network like on Glenn Beck's, Fart Air Fantasies about the Pentaveret, running the world, than it is to actually go, all right, well, let's listen to some voices. That's why C-SPAN, which in many ways is in some ways kind of what you're talking about. It is sort of the balanced approach. As much as the people who call in might storm the gates a little bit on it, they still, you get to hear from, quote unquote, both sides of the issue, and people will call in about the actual legislation of the day, which is the sort of the main reason of it. But it's not The Bachelor, and it's not, the show Lost or something. It's not Sopranos. It's not good against evil or evil winning in spite of good. That kind of stuff. And it's always been the tough part for liberals and progressives, and it always will be. That's why our biggest weapon is and has always been, I think, humor. Because while they appeal to the base fear that you might have, liberals, have always appealed to your comedic sense, the absurdist idea, the idea that the other side sees themselves as Christians, sells themselves as Christians, but are, pro-death penalty. Now, we both know, you and I, Ike, that without the death penalty, there would be no Christianity, because if Christ had died of natural causes, the story's very different. But that is that, you know what I mean? Like, who wants to carry around like
it's important. No death penalty. That story is really different.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you going to do? Wear a tissue around your neck? It's just not. It doesn't work. He died of consumption. He just coughed into a rag. And anyways, so that is a real issue for liberal and progressive media, and that's why I think that's why Al Franken was so valuable. That's why Stephanie is so valuable, because she's that comedic voice lead-in. She's the vegan hamburger. It looks like a more regular morning show. It's just healthier for you. So I agree. Let me look into that. I'm going to take your advice on this. We got to take a break, Ike, but I'm going to look into what it would take to just set up a database like that, along the lines of Air America, and talk to Richard Green and the people who were behind that, and go, what do we do to set up just kind of that baseline thing? It's a great idea, and it also is a level of coordination that's not too difficult, So I'll do that for you.
Run it all the way and run it all the way down to the local talk shows.
Yeah, like
in this area here, we used to have a guy that was 50-50, a little more even-handed, and he didn't cut liberals off.
Right.
And that way you can actually get the way the locals in any given area are looking
well, and
things.
And you're not just preaching to the choir. Right. Absolutely. So, yeah.
Right. And meanwhile, keep putting a foot in those billionaires' asses and tell them to get some money together and let's get our own networks going.
I insist. I just finished the Fiducies. I'll announce when they're going to go live. I think it's around Christmas, which is our award for the biggest douchebags in the fiduciary world, the biggest scam artists and evil billionaires. It's pretty fun. Thank you so much, Ike. It's always good to hear from you, brother. And
love you like a brother.
Yeah,
see you, man.
Absolutely.
Y'all be good.
Be well. Stay healthy. We'll see you on the other side of the current unpleasantness. This is the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. We'll be back right after this. By the way, I'd like to take a moment, as always, to thank the trolls that have joined us in the chat room. Thanks for pumping up our numbers. I appreciate it. It's good, because anybody can attract the audience that likes their stuff, but when you can hold the eyeballs for a long time, Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, they love that. They love that people, it's amazing how much, quite frankly, it's why I've kind of learned to, when I have to watch stuff for my stream or I bring stuff on, why I choose different sources each time. So the algorithm doesn't go, oh, he really likes Right Side Media or Fox or whatever when I can't stand them. And I have to say that the trolls used to have some power. I have to say they used to, remember, around the beginning of Trump's presidency, trolling actually had, it would get on the news. You know what I mean? Like people would write mean things. There was even that thing like people read mean tweets. And that actually outlived its usefulness. You know what I mean? It was funny watching that, as some things are a fad, it's amazing that trolls themselves are a fad, oddly enough. Old-fashioned trolls. It's one thing to have people who don't like what you're saying and are legitimately having a discussion or debate or an argument with you. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about people who just, hate for hate's sake or, whatever, or even paid to go on sites and pretend they disagree, which is a lot of fun. And there's a decent amount of that. it's good PR spending on behalf of campaigns and groups if they can hire a bunch of people who just sit at home all day with 3 laptops and a iPad open, and they just cut and paste the thing across multiple sites. You suck, you suck, you suck, you suck. Trump 2020, Trump 2020. They just do it in a rotation, and they check off that, check off that, right? But they used to, there used to be an actual value to, like trolling actually used to strike a nerve. It used to actually you used to see stuff even when it came up. Somebody would troll you, and you'd be like, but what? That is a complete mischaracterization of me as a person, And now you're like, oh, okay, asshole with nothing to do. Thank you. It's it's a good time. Yeah, the trolls will come and go. They have to rotate, so that's the thing. They'll peel in, and then when they realize it's not really landing, they'll go to another site. And I stream the same time as some other people, So they'll go, oh shit, I got to go to this one. I can't stay over. All right. Who are you? And then run over.
I'm Dick Kay from Back on the Beat, and here is the mega worldwide radio program with Hal Sparks.
That's absolutely true. And
that's right.
Dick Kay follows this show every Saturday. And if you want a real taste of the local news and how the national news affects the local Chicagoland area, there's really no better source than Dick Kay, honestly. So stick around in the Chicagoland area if you're listening to us there. If you're not, you can go to the WCPT's website and listen to if you're from Chicago and you miss it and that kind of stuff. It's a good way to check in on on local Chicago politics that way. CPT is great that way. And of course the lovely Doris Davenport, who is forever rotating around the CPT universe, but is with us. We have other callers. So I don't want to, who else do we have on the line?
Up next is Robert from Florida.
Oh, right on, Robert in Florida.
Okay.
It's everybody's coming back after being off for a couple weeks after the election, like just going into a coma. Yeah. Robert,
I can relate.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to say happy thanks to everybody. A little late, but that's there.
That's okay. It's the nature of a Saturday show.
Ike got the idea, man. I like Ike. Ike,
yep.
He's onto something. We should be calling in for the senators' elections there in Georgia. We should be calling all the small little towns in Georgia.
The local
morning shows.
The local right-wing stations. Yeah.
Morning. Yeah, start trolling like "Good morning, Valdosta," or "Hey, hello." Let's talk politics, making, and we call
the Patriots, Savannah. Right.
Yeah. To say, I want to vote, but that COVID is the problem. And plus the president says it's all a fraud.
Right.
You do all that.
I'm not doing any rat effery as they say. You just call in and be legit. But you're.
Last week I called into you. I got on hold, and you never took a call last week.
I had a lot
about Tom Hartman writing stuff. My arm fell asleep. I got it back like Thursday. It came back.
It's a hold injury. It's an old hold injury that comes back in. Well, you're here. Well, here you are.
I had a lot of Rudy jokes, man.
I don't doubt it. Well, they keep, and you know what? We did the Sexy Liberal show that week, last Saturday. By the way, all those shows are available on demand, and there's a 6-show package now that's available at sexyliberal.com/tour. And then we're going to have a best of as well during December with a couple of new sketches and some add-ons, some addendums, some longer sketches that ones that I got a second shot at editing that I can cut down and make them a little tighter, that kind of thing. So that's coming up. But in the meantime,
I love to throw my 2 cents in there. I got some ideas for you people.
All right.
And here's one I'll give it to you right now.
Okay.
You know what you do? You get all of America that listens to her voice to submit a 5-second video of whatever, and with maybe with them and their pets.
Yeah.
Everyone loves and you don't promise every one of them to get on. But you'll get everyone to submit one who will end up buying a ticket to see if them and their ugly animals on there.
That's a great marketing scheme. I thought you were going to say, Robert, that we should do a thing where people send in a picture of their pet or whatever with an argument for Ossoff or Warnock and put those all over social media, like little 5-second blurbs, because people are like, oh, kitty, Warnock's a nice guy. Oh, look at that doggy. Oh, Ossoff would be a good guy to follow. Yeah, that always works. Yep.
Good. You took it further.
Well, the battle still rages. Yeah, go ahead.
The reason I called in, brother, is this, and millions, maybe you could agree with this. It looks like Donald Trump, the second he's not president, is going to be running for president. So what does that mean? That means he gets to all these, he's just doing it for tax dodging. So anytime he fires up the plane, we're paying for his gas. Anytime he goes left, right, or center, we're paying the transportation cost. Anytime he eats a dinner, that was because I was campaigning and you're going to pay for it. You know what? Biden's first executive act should say, listen, nobody runs for president unless it's in the election year, and you don't get no matching funds. You don't get to write nothing off, because he's using it just to game the system. That's all he's ever done, is game the system for his benefit.
Yeah, well, I agree. I agree that he is fleecing his supporters. He's going to have a certain amount of Secret Service protection and those kind of things that the taxpayer will be paying for the foreseeable future. And I don't think it's for life, because I think wasn't it Bush that scuttled that? But yeah, but the vast majority of the
remember this. He was like the only president that resisted. He resisted Secret Service because he had his own detail.
Right.
And why was he doing that? He was tightening down all the secret channels. He didn't want the FBI. He didn't want the Secret Service there to overhear it.
Oh, it's going to get really gnarly when the Secret Service is always around, because the Secret Service, and I'm sure you know this, what part of the government is the Secret Service actually an arm of? Do you know what?
The Treasury.
They're not
the ones that look at.
They're the Treasury.
They look at counterfeit money.
That's right. So the Secret Service was set up as an arm of the Treasury, and and when you're talking about money laundering and all that kind of stuff, that's part of their purview. Can you imagine? Basically, Donald Trump is going to be followed around by Treasury agents for the rest of his life.
Listen. I called Stephanie years ago, and I said one day he's going to come clean, because that's in his MO. He needs for you to know what a crook he is, right? And he stole the biggest prize, and the biggest prize is America. Nobody's stolen anything more than America, and I did.
I think you've got a point. I think he's going to have to brag about this.
And then he's going to say this. He's going to say, listen, I won't have a disruption in the election. Just let me have Mar-a-Lago. I'll stay there alone.
Right.
No,
I think he's going to have. I think that's what he wants, but I think the problem is that place doesn't make any money, and it's not going to be, if they're going to call it.
But I don't think at this point he's a pariah, and nobody wants to be around him. And I think he knows he's going to jail. I think he'll plea bargain that. He's always looking for a plea.
Yeah, they upped the cost of being a member of Mar-a-Lago to $300,000. I think doubling it effectively once he became president. And now, once he no longer is, burping up national secrets over a piece of chocolate cake within earshot of anybody who can pay the $300K, they're not going to be there anymore. That's
right.
I mean, that's
they're gone, and he's got no value.
Yeah.
Listen, I'll let you take somebody else.
Cheers.
And I want to thank you for my arm will coming back to life this
Indeed.
week. And hold all this.
I appreciate that.
All right, you guys really be good, my friend. Ciao.
Thanks, Robert. I'd keep you on longer, but I don't want somebody else's arm to go numb. So let's grab another caller before the break. We got a few minutes before so we can get somebody in. Who do we have?
Steve from the Gold Coast is up.
Steve! Well, of course, we can't. We're going to have to go over the break with Steve, I have no doubt. Hey, Steve, welcome.
You know me so well.
Yes.
Having said that, the fact is that, that there's a bright side of this. For decades, Democrats have been advocating for public policy related to elections. Let's have more resources. Let's have some uniformity nationally. And, of course, Republicans have shot this down. Well, hey, lo and behold, here we have the perfect springboard from which to propose this legislation going forward. And what in heaven's name can be the Republican response? Keep in mind, you're the party that has claimed that you were just robbed in this election. So why not create this uniform this system? But we'll see what comes of it. Secondly, it seems that Donald Trump's behavior is actually alienating Republican voters in Georgia. Because you had a lot of people out there. Most people don't have a background in public policy, certainly not in electoral politics. So, some of them are willing to sort of go along with Donald Trump's claims that, okay, let's see where this goes in the courts. You never know.
Sure.
You could see a repeat of 2000. Now, moving forward, as you noted, these people aren't just, losing cases. They're getting laughed out of courtvrooms, in front of Republican judges. And now you've actually got some of these big donors, people who didn't donate $5 and $10 to the crazy website, and got cheated, because they keep getting billed every month. No, we're talking about people who actually donated millions to Donald Trump's efforts to overturn this election, are now taking Donald Trump to court because they want their money back because they feel they've been defrauded. Because it's a Ponzi scheme. A good Ponzi scheme is one in which, you actually, you get 10,000 from somebody, you send them back 500 the next month in order to make it look like you're making the money. And so they'll pull in more people. So you have to keep going to court, no matter how ridiculous your claims are, in order to keep people, with the money coming in.
Yeah, that's what Rudy, that's Rudy's entire system right now, is fleecing the president's followers for as long as possible. And knowing that whatever dollar amount he sets that he's actually going to get for all this stuff is going to dry up eventually anyways. So they have to keep arguing this to get any cash, much less, the ridiculous amounts he's asking for. The question becomes how long before the Trump followers, the Trump supporters, the maggots, the Trumpsters, the people, the true believers eventually fizzle out like the Tea Party in a lot of ways. Because those people, remember, our news was overwhelmed with the volume of Trump's, of like pre-Trump, of the Tea Party folks. They were going to be with us forever. They were going to forever change the face of the Republican Party. They became the Freedom Caucus, which eventually, I guess, led, you could say, to Trump. And you could argue that they are... That's what they coalesced behind, but they don't exist as the Tea Party in that regard anymore. Not in any, not in certainly any, PR push or existence. So that's, and some people in our chat room are saying that Trump will never pay Rudy, which I kind of agree. I think other sources are going to ultimately have to pay Rudy, and Trump will keep all the money he has for himself to keep all of his. And we're running over the break or whatever, but can you hold, Steve, through the break?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, hang out for a second, because I know you're not finished, and I was going to finish the thought, but I want to get this break so we don't have a short segment at the end of the hour, because this is our last segment of the show. So this is the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. We'll be back right after this. Think about becoming a supporter. Patreon.com/Hal Sparks. Help us out. We're trying to reach 500 patrons, and you can help. Do it today. All right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have to say, like, there's a tremendous number of let's see. Yeah, I got.
My cat is hot to the touch.
Oh yeah? Why?
She's been in the sun. She found a new sunbeam.
Oh yeah, I read a bunch of stuff about vitamin D production because of your protection for, how it helps your immune system and helps your immune system not to overreact, especially when it comes to respiratory illnesses. It protects your respiratory tract and all that kind of stuff. How important vitamin D is in places like Chicago and the northern areas of the United States and a lot of Canada. If you have darker skin, you need to supplement with vitamin D because you're not producing as much, in the same way that you'll get skin cancer if you have really light skin. You go down to the Bahamas with no sunscreen on. It's the same. It's the trade-off in that argument. Okay. Cats produce vitamin D in their fur, on their skin, on the outside of their skin, when they're in sunlight, and they lick it off, and that's how they get the vitamin D that goes into their system.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And they also lick their fur after you've touched them because you stink.
That's right.
Human smells go like, Yeah. Yeah. I mean, vitamin D's in general, you need to make sure your levels are solid, as it were, but yeah. Becky's encouraging her MAGA friends to boycott the Georgia election. Well, because it's really just the UN tracking you, and it's just a way for them, the shock troops, to find your house. So I clearly.
Have you seen that meme of the guy sitting at the folding table with the sign in front of him with some sort of statement that says "Change my mind"?
Yeah, it's Steven Crowder.
Okay, so the most recent version of that along those lines said, "You're not worth microchipping. Change my mind."
That's hilarious. Well, and it's not that far off from what his opinion of his own viewers, Crowder.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. Now time for the happy ending. Yay!
Yay!
Yay! So Steve from the Gold Coast is still on with us, by the way, via hamburger phone, and he'll. So Steve, we were saying that this is basically a Ponzi scheme, or at least, one of those. It's a legal version of a timeshare, is what I would say. You know what I mean? Where you have to keep paying into it whether it's useful or not.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And unfortunately, in covering this, some networks got a lot of flack because they actually, cut away from some of these news conferences and other things because, they were so ridiculous. Somebody made the editorial choice to say, okay, this is so nonsensical, we are not going to cover it as news. And then, of course, they open themselves up to backlash because, oh, my God, they're not covering this newsworthy story. That's like saying that, that school children should be taught that there are two perspectives. One, that the earth revolves around the sun and the sun revolves around the earth. That those should be given equal weight. No, there's a reason why we don't teach both of those things, despite the fact that there are a few crazy people out there that believe them. So unfortunately, in this country over the last 40 years, there's this huge backlash, nonsensical really, that argues that the media is inherently liberal and therefore excludes conservative ideas and ideology and
the Iron Curtain.
Right, exactly. And that has forced media to sort of open themselves up to the most ridiculous far right-wing ideas and had to give them airtime. Otherwise, they're accused of exclusionary tactics.
Well, and Steve, I would argue that is effectively what I was talking about with trolls earlier. Is that trolls in the beginning of online trolls, comments and that kind of stuff had a lot more weight at the beginning of the Trump presidency because they were relatively new and they were weaponized about 4 years ago in a way that they weren't previously. And they became a useful tool, because they hit people emotionally. People emotionally responded. They were new to the idea of someone saying something. They didn't necessarily understand that some of them are fake or that a lot of people are paid to do those things, and they jump from site to site. And so you can't take it personally and all these kind of things. It looks like Rudy Giuliani is basically taking the trolling thing and just making it a legal version of things because it no longer works in the online world, but the legal system still has to technically deal with anything. And the media is also sort of, the bigger media groups are slower to deal with these things because they're not speedboats, they're cruise ships. They're gigantic operations. And so it takes them a little while to respond or develop a response over time. And so he's taking advantage of that fact and saying they won't even listen to our stuff. And the networks have yet to come up with a good argument for, at least the articulation of it, which is, it's not that we don't listen to facts and information, is that we vet those facts and information based on reality before we present them to our viewers as best we can. Some things are fast moving and they slip by, but when we can get a good long view of something,
And it's important to note, and this is my final point, that they opened up that Pandora's box, and now it's turned on them because now Fox has apparently become the enemy.
Oh yeah,
of Trump. Why? Because they're actually reporting facts and what's real. And guess what? Trump is not going to be president come January 20th. And to the chagrin of a lot of people on the right who now consider Fox the enemy. And what have you seen? Outlets like Newsmax and OAN and others, their viewership is exploding. The crazy side of crazy has now picked up those Trump.
That's true. I would also argue, I would also argue that when it comes to the ratings game, what's happening is not necessarily that the audience of OAN and Newsmax is growing. It is simply that the Fox audience is separating out into three distinct groups. It's the same number of humans. So it's from online numbers, they're exploding. But from a network number, they're still pathetic compared to what a network actually pulls. And what's ultimately, the only thing that's going to happen is they're going to dent Fox's numbers in such a way that CNN and MSNBC are going to start consistently winning the ratings game and undermining Fox's value as a network. And OAN and Newsmax will never gain the size and credibility any more than the Blaze has done over time. You know what I mean? They'll fart their way out at a certain level and stay there. And the irony is that I, by doing this little show from my office with my single camera and my buddy on Skype and us, jumping through hoops to get the sound to Chicago, is as much of a production and has equal reach, ultimately, as OAN, Newsmax, and these other sites, because YouTube's an app just as much as anything else on these new TVs. You could find it if I found my way through. Maybe they have a PR budget, but ultimately the content and the quality isn't necessarily matching anything. It's not jumping to the level of having a network and having a prime spot in the cable box, which still has value. It just does and will for a long time. I literally had somebody in the chat just go, "What happened to the Blaze anyways?" They're on. They've technically grown, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to be amazed. And Steve, I appreciate the call, brother. Thanks, and I'm glad you're well. Stay healthy. I'm going to try and take one more call before we have the end of the hour, because I think we have enough time. And if people are going, "You have a better green screen," that's sweet. I need one more light for it to be a solid green screen. It's still got dingy spots on it. It's bothering me. But anyways, we'll fix that eventually. But let's grab one more caller. I think we might have one more caller on the line.
We have Dave from Hoffman Estates.
Excellent. Hey, Dave. Welcome.
Hey, Hal. How are you doing?
I'm spectacular.
You mentioned to the screen with this Rudy, with all of these frivolous lawsuits he's got and doing, very reminiscent of on the Perry Mason opponent, Hamilton Berger. Come to think of it, he only won one case against Perry Mason.
Right. Which is the president's favorite lawyer to bring up is Perry Mason, which is, and it always struck me as odd, since he would be, in any case, in Trump's cases, he would be on the receiving end of Perry Mason, not being supported or protected by Perry Mason in every single case that's been brought against Trump or that he's had to go to court about. It's very ironic to me. But yeah, so do you, and this is, in your opinion, is it simply fleecing, or is Rudy a true believer? Because I have my doubts, having watched his video multiple times. I've watched his streaming show, which he is doing from a Washington hotel room consistently right now, because he's not at his New York home. He's just basically the Trump whisperer currently. That I don't think it's going. I think he knows it's not going anywhere.
Right. He's probably trying to get that last 15 minutes of fame also,
Yeah. But to what? But again, the world's not going to end. So at what point, how does this benefit Rudy Giuliani after this? Other than foreign money, back to traveling to Ukraine and Italy to be a gadfly, he becomes like another Project Veritas on his own. You know what I mean? Going for that RNC Project Veritas dollar. Maybe that's his end game, but it's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I thought when you mentioned that video, I thought you were talking about that after that rally press outside that porn shop.
Right. Yeah, Four Seasons Total Landscaping, which is now selling more T-shirts. Yeah. They're making more money selling T-shirts than they do as a landscaping company. And
they have a fabulous social media presence.
It's amazing now. They hired somebody immediately. Yeah, go ahead.
Before so you do your thing, is I just reading a thing where totally different now. Where the Nimitz is back in the Persian Gulf.
Yeah.
After that assassination of that Iranian nuclear
physicist. Yeah.
They vow revenge. And I wouldn't doubt that Trump somehow got behind this because, President-elect Biden wants to
re-enter the Iran deal.
Iranian and that, and nothing like being a fly in the ointment there. But
that's right. Well, that would, I mean,
of interest. Let me clear off so you
I appreciate it. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Thanks for calling in. Good talk. Yeah, be well. Stay healthy. Yeah, we're gonna sign off, but I would like to say that in and of itself is what Trump is indicative of what he's going to do. I think Pompeo met with MBS and Netanyahu and talked with them about the assassination of this physicist. This person is sort of a figurehead of the physics of the nuclear system there. It's not going to stop anything in their system. It's just going to make it harder to rejoin a nuclear deal if they suspect we played a part in it and they hold a grudge. And that's entirely the goal. It's not going to do anything to slow down the system. It's just going to make it harder to have peace. And that's going to be Trump's entire attack point going into the into the Biden administration. That's just how it is. So, Johnny Million, love you. Love you, chat room. Love everybody. Thank you guys for joining us today. We're here every Saturday, 9 to 11 Pacific time, 11 to 1 Central in the Chicagoland area. Stick around for Dick K. If you're listening on WCPT. Hang around for a little bit of post-show on the web, and we'll see you next week.
I am American. Psycho, the psycho American. I am American. Psycho, the psycho American.
Yeah. Boom. I say boom in that right before that music section, and it like because it just made it made sense to the nature of the song. But I always think of the boom in Enter Sandman. When the bed gets hit by the truck in the video.
Oh, yeah.
But what he's really saying is boo. He's not saying boom. Saying boo, because scary. Yeah, because now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to get boo. But it's boo. It's like it's the Grover or the Cookie Monster metal growl version of boo, which I like. It. There's a couple of those moments in metal where you're like, this is supposed to be scary, but it just kind of blew it for me.
Yeah,
it's like
see you next week.
Thank you guys. Absolutely. Cheers. Yeah. One of them being, of course, the first EP of Marilyn Manson, Smells Like Children, which again is from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Which, I mean, how much of a devil worshiper are you if you're citing Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? You know what I mean? Like, there's so much to draw from in the Aleister Crowley, Ozzy Osbourne, pentagrams and crows world of imagery, and you go with an Ian Fleming kids movie that Disney put out with a lot of Dick Van Dyke songs in it. I mean, the dude was scary. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But come on. Yeah. All right. So, are you off to a run? Did you have a run this morning? Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I already ran, but I am off to continue to do things for the old and new house.
Yes.
It's all still very exciting.
Oh, you're running back and forth between the two now?
Yeah.
Ugh. That's rough. I've been doing a show and tell, that's where that bracelet I showed you, I've been finding all these things that were in storage, including the biggest crystal I have. This is as California.
Oh, wow.
This is as California as I get. I've had this thing since the 90s.
Nice.
Oh yeah. It's got good vibes in it. Anyways, very, very California to have a crystal that big. This thing is hooked up. I don't know if it'll reach to where the camera is, but I want to show you. This is a USB hub. That's a skull cup, whatever. I forget where I got it. I was touring and I found it in some like really weird store, and I was it's so ridiculous. And I'm like, it's so metal and yet USB, and it will age itself out at some point and no longer be useful because it's like USB 2.0, right? So, so it's not even good for most drives. But it looks really scary, so I was like, I'll still have that. And then I showed everybody this before, but it's my Queer as Folk wedding ring.
Aww.
That's the one Bobby Gant gave to me on a school bus in Toronto. Was one of those things. There's been a bunch of these. I like this box that I got my a watch in when I was in Canada. And it's Hal's All-American Hot Dogs.
That's amazing.
And it's got Santa Monica and Pasadena on it, which is so weird. Is that it would have those places of all places, and of course, my old house we had the sex light because so the roommates wouldn't barge in. It has a little button on the side here, and you light it up. You can't. It's too. Yeah, I don't have batteries in it right now because it was in storage. But
that beats putting a sock on the doorknob.
Yeah, that's what everybody said. Sock on the doorknob, and I was like, that just is nasty. That seems to ward people off. It used to be shoes outside the door, right? Was in the old saloons, But then I guess people would steal your shoes, so they wouldn't steal your socks, right?
No, not a dirty sock.
No, but So I'm trying to think if there was one in particular that would resonate with you. Hold it right there. Wait 1 second. Okay. I'm going to grab something. I'll be right back. I know it's around here somewhere. I will find it. It'll drive me crazy. Unless I do. That it's got a Johnny Million kind of a related... I'm gonna have to save it for next time. I'll have a special one for next week. I'm just gonna have some, since I'm doing the show and tell kind of things on all the streams.
Yeah.
I think on the Saturday ones, I'm gonna bring one that's very Johnny Million related because I found quite a few. Including my first drawing of a seismograph logo in one of my New Trier notebooks.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, straight up high school, smells like Teen Spirit kind of moments, where you're like, this is my band logo. I'm going to draw the... yes, my seat cover does say witch taint on it. There you go. Hold on. You can back it up so you can see. There it is. That's my friend Dave's thrash or death metal, Norwegian death metal band.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, I don't know if they have, wait, hold on. They might have witchtaint.com. But he wrote, yeah, they do. Dark Regards. Oh, it's glorious. Oh my gosh. Oh, I thought that was music coming from the thing. I was like, I clicked something and you moved it just as I was like, what is this? They're actually, their last show was in November of 2019. So hold on, let me see if I can find, if you just look at Dave Hill is the guy who came up with it, and he wrote a bunch of letters. He wrote a bunch of letters to a Norwegian death metal label as the greatest death metal fan ever, who has his own death metal band and insists. And he got into this argument back and forth with the guy as this character. And I don't know if you're familiar with. You remember Father Guido Sarducci from SNL?
Course, yeah.
Okay, so Don Novella, who was Father Guido Sarducci, also had a character that he wrote to famous people as, called Laszlo Toth. He would write...
I don't know if I've heard of that.
So, there are books called the Laszlo Toth Letters. And he wrote to Nixon and he wrote to McDonald's and said, complained about the fish sandwich at one point. And all these as Laszlo Toth American. And he would get responses that were just amazing. And the people he wrote to were just, it was so ahead of its time.
It sounds like it's like the original troll.
Yeah, the Laszlo letters. That's right. And it's my grandmother had the Laszlo letters books. My grandmother Sparks, my dad's mom, who was a librarian, had checked out one of them and then loved it so much she bought two versions of them. He had 2 books out or whatever.
Oh wow.
And so it's a lot like that. So he basically in the tradition of the Laszlo letters and that kind of stuff, Dave wrote to this dude and got into a big fight with this guy about it. And then ultimately it kind of came clean or whatever. But he's got the whole back and forth, you know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then Witch Taint became the kid's band name that he was trying to sell to the guy. And then it became the show they do is the live back and forth reading of the emails between a guy playing the label dude who's like, no, I'm totally death metal. I'm more death metal than you will ever be. You do not even understand how death metal I am. And then him just writing the letters back and forth. And he's in in corpse paint. Dave's in corpse paint, and the guy just looks like he's like, I have a family. I have to sell albums that are going to actually cover my costs. You know, it's Gonzo. Oh my God, he's alive and well. Oh, wow. Look at that. Welcome back, brother. We know we all heard you were taking a break, and we understand that, and you were sorely missed. Many asked about you, and we figured you were just taking a break from the whole thing. Don't forget to smash the like and thumbs up, everybody. Everybody's yelling that business in there. But yeah, so Fareed Zakaria is tweeting how Trump can legally still win. Yeah, no.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
all right, I do have to bail out.
I know. You got a life to go handle. I'll dilly dally with the riffraff.
Take care of those nincompoops.
I know you can't be bothered with the riffraff.
This is all way too small time for me.
Yeah, exactly. You got so much. Is meeting with the Queen and everything. Don't forget to curtsy. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Duh.
You don't have to tell me. All right. Cheers, brother. Love you. And
next week.
And I'm gonna have some special. If you find some stuff. That's
oh wow,
yeah. If you have any,
yeah, I've got a couple of boxes with some old cassettes. I think I found an old seismograph cassette that I've got to transfer.
Oh boy, I want that. I got to digitally remaster it and fix the vocals. It's gonna be good. I'm gonna do a whole Kiss Alive with it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm for it. Oh my God, we were so lucky to have dodged cameras like video back then in a lot of ways.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I stand by that giant jacket of my dad's that I wore that was kind of Rick Springfieldy, the big yellow jacket.
Great.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
You always look good, Hal.
You.
Adorable.
I have to say, one of my bucket list things is you and I share a stage doing a bunch of songs in the next couple of years. However we make it happen.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna do it. We're going to make a set list of some favorite songs and some originals of mine and yours and our
it's been
favorite
forever since we did All American Man.
I know. And you're
so long ago.
And I can actually go, he's a 6 foot because I'm 5'9". I mean, I can always wear my boots though.
Oh, those are solid.
Yeah. So we'd be the same height. You gargantuan beast.
And I would still be in more danger of falling than you.
Right. But I think you've just absorbed the ace clumsiness as part of your just, respect for the arts.
Yeah, that's just how I am.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It must be terrible to be, want to be as kind of clumsy and wavering as Ace, and yet so rock steady as Brian May in the same, you know what I mean? And yet carrying a 5-neck guitar like Rick Nielsen. Wherein can you?
Oh yeah, where does it all fit?
Yeah, right. How do you shoehorn those things together? I look forward to seeing that on stage one day. But I mean that with all my heart. Like I want to.
Yeah, we got to do it.
I need to make music with you, my brother, and we will figure a way to make that happen. I adore you, and I wish I could, just squeeze you into a much more compact, beautiful woman, and I'd show you. I'm just saying. All right, bye. Yes.
All right,
bye. See you later. Boom, boom, bloop, bloop. You're gonna bloop on me? Is he bloop? He's blooped. Did he bloop? Yeah. I think so. No, it's just frozen. That's fun. Hi, guys. Hi, everybody. Hold on. Hurrah. Now, I don't... Oh, and then we'll close off. Clean feed for Chicago. There we go. Man. Oh, and there's going to be a march for Trump tomorrow. It's going to be amazing. Thanks, AYS. I'm glad you love lab rats, as do I. Look at this. Here's one of the things I found in my stuff. It's my parking space reserve sign from Lab Rats from season 2, I think. Yeah. They made the first ones. I had 2 because they didn't laminate the first one because it's California. And then it rained and they're like, oh, yeah, right. So there you go. It's the, ta-da. Good stuff. Why no paper ballots in Indiana? Because they used ES&S machines to throw it to, what happened to the sound? I don't know. Can you hear me? You should be able to hear me. Should be all right. Yeah, no. I think you should be able to hear me all right. Yeah. Yes, I do have my Mnuchin glasses. As a matter of fact, where are they? I broke them out. We haven't seen much of him lately, so they're around here somewhere. I literally, I've been moving so much stuff around. I'm hoping that he will have some. When the Fed releases information about whether or not they're going to raise interest rates right before Biden comes in, I have no doubt Mnuchin will be saying stuff. And there's a very strong chance, by the way, that he'll be called in front of Congress to discuss the $500 billion he scuttled. So, not yet, Amy. I don't know what books you're mentioning, so not yet. So I go to LA and pick up some of my mail and stuff. When I go tomorrow night, I have the Boston Comedy Festival. I'm opening the show tomorrow night virtually from Flappers for the Boston Comedy Festival. Bounce, bounce. 4:30 LA time, 7:30 East Coast. And then next Sunday, the Sunday after this one, I'm going to be in LA at Flappers doing a physically distanced. I'm trying to train myself to use that phrase because I think it's truer and it makes people, it's not as like emotionally harsh because we're not socially distancing. We aren't. We're physically distancing. You can still say hi to somebody who's 7 feet away. I must say, oh, perhaps you can't, but maybe you do. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So we have a physically distanced show at Flappers with, I think, 8 or 10 people in the entire room. And then, is the story that Trump's team has the server true? What server? No, I doubt it. Yeah, it's physical distancing. Practice physical distancing. I mean, I don't, yeah. Yeah. Yes, my hair has grown a lot since we last saw you, Gonzo, and it looks fantastic. It's a little froofy, although I did take people's advice and put a little leave-in conditioner in it. And what it did was, it's like Red Bull. It gave me wings. Look at that. Isn't that fun? It's very, very 80s. And with my chair, it makes more sense if you see the rest of my hair. But with just this part, the part where it hits your ears and starts to bank off, like a bullet time shot of your hair growing. I think it looks even longer than, yes, I have passed Rick Springfield and I am well on my way to Richard Marx. That's right. Getting a little Farrah Fawcett, getting a lot Farrah Fawcett, I think. Hal, nice to hear you use Dave Allen when you sign off in the evenings. Thanks, C. Fields. A lot of people don't know that, and I do it because I want to remind people how kind of lovely his comedy was. I used to watch Dave Allen at large on public television with my dad, and it was just a joy. Hey, Underwolf. Yes, Richard Marx and I are very close now. We've become buddies over this time. It's one, there's a couple of people, I have to say, celebrities that I had never run into. Absolutely my pleasure, Allie. That I never expected to be friends with in any way. And I'd run into Richard Marx before, but I had never, yeah, it's a little Steve Perry. That's a good point. Yeah, like the O'Sherry phase. Excellent. All the best. Well, I will check it out. But Dave Allen was on PBS 11 in Chicago before Doctor Who, and I would watch Doctor Who. And my dad and I would watch Dave Allen at large, and I just love the theme song. The theme song still makes me happy. Just hearing it, that it's just great, and it's those are memories I have of being with my dad, that I'll always have, which are great, and that's and I just I just love the show and the sketches and the fact that he's missing a finger, and he would be smoking a cigarette and holding his scotch with his missing finger. Hey there from Ireland. Dave Allen was great. He absolutely was. God's own comedian, I think they called him. But he would end his show with, "Good night, and may your God go with you." Would I let my son grow his hair out? Of course. The Irish are indeed very funny. Oh, Ireland, you're good people, and I love you and miss you. Scientists go to school to learn mask work. Trump didn't, and look how many people around him got it. Yeah. Oh, went to school to go to school to learn masks work. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Thanks. I try, Coretta. Thank you very much. YouTube is in the UK. Excellent. Dave Allen's Jack the Ripper sketch is still one of my favorites. Yeah. Holy smokes. I have to look that one up. That's been ages. I used to love listening to Dr. Memento with my older brother. Yeah. Listening to Dr. Demento and taping it off the radio was how I discovered, and how a lot of people discovered, Weird Al when I was a kid. And my buddy Andy in high school did a ton of stuff. Like he was, yes, Richard Marx is Right Here Waiting for You. And Hold On to the Nights, which brings a tear to my eye. I gotta admit. German and Irish, that's a good mix, Amy. Stout people, frontier people. Yes, Richard Marx is indeed a wonderful tweeter. Cruviati fish heads. Yeah, he's definitely hardcore. I gotta bring. Let's see. Do I have the chat? I don't know. No, I can't. No, it's like storage on. Is the chat's on here? I'll have to bring it up to work. Oh yeah, right. No, I'd have to. Oh yeah, there it is. First generation in America. Mom and dad are from Germany. That's cool. Yeah, Gonzo, we talked about that on the show. Yeah, they were definitely counting on that going differently. Richard Marx is indeed a master of syrupy love ballads. He's also just in general a strong songwriter. If you want to learn the mechanics of songwriting, look at his entire collection. You genuinely can learn from that process. I mean, I would say Repeat Offender is, if you want to learn song structure for pop songs, that's the album to get. Mostly Scottish and Irish Bulldog. Nicaragua. I don't, on this computer, I don't have my my soundboard set up on it because I had to switch computers because the other one murdered itself with the update. Yeah, Right Here Waiting, you just kind of can't go wrong. And that was because I think it was Cynthia, his wife at the time. He'd been touring. She was filming and a movie, and they hadn't seen each other. And he, as he tells it, they had a week or 10 days where they were going to have time. Like, she had a break from shooting. He had a break from touring. They had worked it out. He'd changed part of his touring. They'd element to shoot around this so that they could spend like a week together. They hadn't seen each other in a few months. And they had to move shooting, and one of his dates got shifted or something. And so it all fell apart, and he was just stuck at home for 5 days. and couldn't see his wife. She was in another country, and it wouldn't be time to, it was like, I think she was in South Africa, so there was no way to get there and get back in time for his dates like they had planned. It was, it was Cynthia, not Daisy Fuentes. And he was with he called over his songwriting buddy, trying to be productive, and he started writing, no, that he didn't write Sunglasses at Night. That's not him. And yeah, Cynthia was in Dirty Dancing. She was in a bunch of stuff. She was in Runaway, one of my favorite Tom Selleck movies, a Michael Crichton film, by the way, and a movie before its time. And if I was going to do a cop show right now, that'd be the cop show I'd want to do, is a modern version of Runaway, sci-fi show called, based on Runaway, would be kind of kick-ass. So anyways, they couldn't get together. He sat down to write down, apparently, a really angry metal or hard rock song because he was so pissed. He's like, this is a good time to maybe write a hard song because he's so angry. And they worked on some stuff, and they were hitting on a few things. But his buddy went to get them lunch and bring it back, and he was sitting at the piano, and he wrote "Right Here Waiting," right that, like in that hour or whatever. He started writing it and wrote almost all of it in one sitting because he was missing her. Yeah, she was in Staying Alive. Absolutely, she's terrific in Staying Alive. So yeah. Hey, Gonzo, thanks. We missed you as well. Fear not. We're just glad to know you're happy and healthy. It's all good. Did I ever meet Bill Hicks? Yes. When was it? Austin, 90s? Before anybody knew who the hell I was, just as a comic. I have watched Spitting Image some. I like the old one a lot, and I'm a huge fan of the video that Genesis did using the Spitting Image dolls for Land of Confusion. But yeah, the new one I'm hit and miss on. They have this weird sub-story about aliens in that. Did I ever meet Bill Murray? No, but my dad played bluegrass at the cast party dance at Fort Knox for Stripes, and saw a woman there that he thought was attractive. This is after my parents were divorced. And she was dancing with some dude, and he came over and tapped the dude on the shoulder and said, "You mind if I cut in?" And it was Bill Murray. And my dad interrupted his dance with this woman, Emily, and they dated for years. Emily was my dad's longest girlfriend in Kentucky before he moved away to Illinois. And I eventually moved up there. But he literally cut in on Bill Murray dancing with her to meet his girlfriend. Pretty fun. Yes, get a flu shot. It's a great idea. Absolutely. Phil Collins works your nerve. Why? It's very strange. Hi, babe. How are you? Look at you. How was your thing? Did you do your... yeah? Oh, right. It won't work in Safari or something like that? Yeah, so virtual job interviews that are going. And Jillian says hi. People are saying hi. There's Can't Stop Lying. There you go. Hi, everybody. Hi. Yeah. So, All right. Well, if you didn't have to do it during my show, I would have run tech for you, run camera. Done anything you needed. Okay. Well, you're a capable woman. Fantastic. Love you. Coffee? You good? You got everything you need? Oh, hi, guys. Hi. You're still here? Oh, hello. So, yes, I'll be post-showing for a little bit longer, and then we'll get back to trying to turn our house into something livable. That'd be good. So, but everyone says hi, and she says hi back, and am I blushing? Probably. Yeah. Yeah, I love my girl. Blush whenever she walks into a room. What about John Denver? Oh, yes, I met John Denver. when I was a kid. My dad knew John. Did some instrument work, I think, doing some fret work for some guys in John's band. And John Denver gave me a Coke backstage at one of his shows in Louisville when I was 6. What do I think of SNL? I think it's hit and miss. I like it. Which side of the comments from the screen besides... what? Hold on, what was that? Is she flashing you? No, she's just there. It's just lovely. What was it again? So, which site are the comments from on screen besides Hal? Oh, there are a lot of different things. This is different sites, mostly Twitch and YouTube, and yeah, it's a mix of people. You know, you got to be careful with the trollage, as it were. Hal, have you ever had lunch with a random fan at Opryland Hotel and have a good time? Gee, indeed I have. That's right. And by the way, yeah, tomorrow night, I'm nice, Jess. That's lovely. A Coca-Cola in a can. Calm yourself. Lane Frost. No, I don't think so. I heard Phil Collins in the middle of divorce with his soon-to-be ex-wife, and she says he's a hermit and won't bathe. He's in tremendous pain because of nerve damage. So showering and getting in and out of a bath is no doubt incredibly painful. So I mean, that's speaking of Phil Collins. I think Keith Urban has a lot of Richard Marx in his songs. Yeah, a lot of those guys do. Absolutely. Huh. 29. So I might not know a lot of the people that Hal in the chat talks about, but the old artists and bands I might know because of my guitar lessons from a guitar teacher. Oh, that's fine. That's how you find out. I wasn't, you know, I wouldn't really remember Chinatown, you know, legit, but I've seen it because it's classic. Yeah. Why are the trolls not out rioting and shouting and screaming for Trump? Because they're not real Trump supporters. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to have any beef with Phil Collins. He's a good dude, good soul. Oh, were you, Jess? Good for you. Yeah, nerve damage is rough, and he's got it severely in his back and in his arms, in his neck. It's a lot. Who is a famous person you met and liked the most? Maybe even starstruck. That's a tough one. I mean, because I've met a lot of really good people. I have, Weird Al Yankovic. I had him on Talk Soup, and I'd never met him before, and he's just one of the sweetest people. You know, he's just a doll, and he couldn't be kinder, and yet he's a hardworking. Yes, most of them are former LaRouche supporters. The QAnon folks, absolutely. And I, so I mean, meeting him was kind of a lifelong dream and kind of amazing. But I mean, he's just a good guy. He's just a good dude. And Leah Thompson. From Back to the Future and Some Kind of Wonderful and the umpteen things she's done all over the place. Back to the Future, like 2 and 3, as well. She's just amazing. She's just a sweetheart and such a good person. Adored meeting her and getting to spend a little bit of time hanging out with her when we did celebrity duets together. Al Jarreau, he was a sweetheart. That was lovely. I met him on Celebrity Duets. I was definitely starstruck the first time I met Sebastian Bach, and it's still I have a hard time dealing with it because he's gigantic and his voice is, he's like, dude, like he's just awesome. He's just a good guy. He's, He's not one of these people like when I was a huge Skid Row fan in high school and especially in the 90s or Slave to the Grind. But it wasn't something I'm like, oh, one of these days I'll hang out or sing with or hang around him. And yeah, I Remember You was my song with my girlfriend in high school, that kind of thing, But it wasn't one of those people like, oh, one day I'll get to meet this person or maybe I'll get to meet him or whatever. It just never occurred to me. And then when it did, I was like, oh, crazy. That's cool. Yeah. Gladys Knight, she was amazing to meet. And I've met all the members of KISS. Multiple versions. I've never met Vinnie Vincent, and I never got a chance to meet Mark St. John. But I at one time or another met or was in a room with a bunch of those folks. Yeah, all of them. As they've rotated through the years. Where in Kentucky did you grow up? Peaks Mill, outside of Frankfort. I have not met Dave Grohl, but I've heard everyone has reported back lovely things about him. Let's see. Jimmy Durante was the nicest celebrity I ever met, and Frank Gorshin was the worst. Wasn't he cranked out of his mind, Jeff? Wasn't he, up on the booger sugar? I've met Steven Tyler. Okay. So the one time I literally had like kind of the most normal interaction with Steven Tyler I've had with almost any celebrity in the world. I was riding my motorcycle down Sunset Boulevard, as you do. And I had my helmet on and all that stuff. And I see Steven Tyler and two other people leaning up against a brick wall, like a little parking lot barrier wall next to Pinkberry, eating froyo. I mean, it's just like him and two of his friends. Like it was just anybody, right? And I'm like, holy shit, that's Steven Tyler. So I circle the block and I come back around. I pull up on my bike and I stop in front of him and I take my helmet up and I go, Steven Tyler, Hal Sparks, Talk Soup, how you doing? Love you. Think you're amazing. Just wanted you to know, always feel like I should pull over and tell one of my rock heroes that they're fantastic. And he was like, that's amazing, man. Thank you. That's great. That's great. You're very funny. And off I went. That was it. That was the whole interaction. But it was just like, hey man, what's going on? Doing a thing, having some froyo. Okay, cool. Cheers, bye. It was the closest thing to a celebrity interaction I've ever had to Jim Carrey outside, walking out of the 7-Eleven in Dumb and Dumber going, big gulps, huh? Well, okay, see you later. Oh yeah, my sister's good. She's doing good. Thanks for asking. I appreciate that. Hate to say this, but Billy Crystal is not nice to flight crew. Everyone dreads it when he's in their cabin. Really? Is he scared of flying? It's always curious to me. How is it where you are in Lab Rats? I don't understand that question, but it's cool to be in the show Lab Rats, and Lab Rats is awesome. Steven Tyler used to call my mother, well, hello. I met it and waited on Julia Child. See, here's the thing. I had, and some of you have heard this story, but those that are new and haven't, it's kind of apropos, especially in this day and age with COVID being what it is and us losing a lot of celebrities during a time when no one's interacting with anybody. I had a chance to say hi to Madeline Kahn at a restaurant in Los Angeles where she was eating by herself. And I was with a friend, and the friend talked me out of bothering her because she was eating alone. And I didn't, and I'm a huge fan of hers. I love Madeline Kahn. I think she's purely funny and wonderful. And I didn't go over and say anything. And I've regretted it, and she died the next year. And I now know that at that point, she had cancer, and she was fighting cancer that whole time. And there was a medical building across the street from this restaurant, Kate Manalini's. And it's very possible that she had come out of there, gotten bad news, was eating by herself before going home to break it to the family or something, or tell her friends. I don't know where she was going. I'm projecting this onto her, but it's a very strong possibility that she had just gotten the bad news that ended up taking her life. And I keep thinking back with regret in my life, and this is one of the things I carry around with me as a human being, that I regret not telling her how wonderful she was, because I had an opportunity to, and I passed it up because of not wanting to bother, or not, those kind of things, when she was eating by herself. So I made a rule after that, that I will find a kind way, or a quick and unobtrusive way as best I can, anytime I come across someone that I'm a fan of, to let them know, because no one knows what's going to happen right after that, and to deny someone the gift of going, I love what you do, and I love what you did, and the laughter you gave my mom, because, and this is where it gets really sad, is my Aunt Susan died when I was 16, and my mom, it was my dad's sister, but my mom and she were very close, and they used to take us, she and my mom used to go to the movies all the time, and they took me to the movies with them. So we didn't have a television when I lived in Kentucky till I moved to Chicago. We didn't have a TV. And so my only visual entertainment of that time was watching movies, was going to the movies. And my mom we didn't have daycare, basically. So my mom would drop me off at the movies, and I would just watch the same 2 movies over and over all day until she was done with work during the summer. And that's, that's part of how I became an actor, was because I understood that it was a job and not just the miracle of a movie, like most people just watching it once. So I watched them over and over again, and I learned what, some craft from doing that. It's like growing up in the movie industry as best you could in Frankfort, Kentucky. So my Aunt Susan and my mom used to take me, and they had great senses of humor, and they loved to laugh. And my Aunt Susan they loved Mel Brooks movies, and I would sit in the front row. I always sit front row when I watch a movie, and they would sit back in the middle, and they would laugh at stuff that I was too young to get. And I remember very distinctly sitting there and going, what are they laughing at, and why? Why is this funny? And it made me want to understand comedy so I could make them laugh like they were laughing there, because I just felt like I wanted to, right? And so one of the things they loved were Mel Brooks movies, and they loved Madeline Kahn. Like both my mom and my Aunt Susan loved her and loved Mel Brooks movies, and I saw Blazing Saddles with them when I was probably 8, something like that. And I saw, High Anxiety, and all those movies while she was alive, we went and saw them. Young Frankenstein, saw it in the theater. And all these different movies, like, Silver Streak, and all, like, big Gene Wilder fans, big fans of Madeline Kahn as well. And part of the regret of not saying that to Madeline Kahn was not just letting her know that I loved her work, but that my aunt who died loved her work and laughed so hard at her work that we all have peaks and valleys in life, and Madeline Kahn was responsible for some of the peaks in my aunt's life, who is no longer with us. And I should have told her. She was sitting by herself. I wouldn't have been interrupting a conversation. I should have told her. And so now, that regret, and when people say you should never regret, don't regret. It makes you, everything that happened is supposed to happen and makes you who you are. Bullshit. The way things make you who you are is your reaction to them. And regret is one of those reactions. Living with, the pain of that, and keeping it real and true, and carrying that with you in your life, is how you alter your behavior. Is how you react better in the future, by carrying that. Right? So, is comedy a drug for you? Do you feel you need to make strangers laugh? No, it's a skill. It's something I'm good at. It's work I'm proud of. And it's a gift you can give. I've always looked at comedy as a gift you can give. Do I get mad when fans interrupt me? No. Yeah. regret is important if it helps you change a behavior that you shouldn't have engaged in or that you want to change about yourself. Absolutely. So anyway, so I now have this thing where I will, if I see somebody that's a celebrity and I like them, it quelled a lot of what would be my getting starstruck about people. That kind of went away because I know the other side of it, which is living with the regret of not having said what I should have said to Madeline Kahn when I had the chance. Yeah. So that, it's, how do you deal with drunk hecklers or even sober ones? I don't really have that many hecklers. Most people don't even understand heckling. Somebody just yelling stuff because they disagree with you, that's not a heckler. That's just that's a loud audience member complaining. It's not technically heckling. Heckling is an actual skill. Heckling is you see a comic come through, they've been through your town many times, they tell the same jokes over and over again, and so you ruin their act by yelling the punchline before they do. That's what heckling actually is, not just yelling. Most modern drunks who just screw with shows and all that kind of stuff, it's not real heckling, and it's too easy. But if somebody actually wants to engage, I'm more than happy to have 20 minutes of fresh material created by this idiot in the audience than burn material on this audience, because if they see me again, they'll see 20 minutes of stuff they didn't see before because I was too busy talking to this person, and then I'll still keep it funny. If the person is violent or rude or dismissive of the rest of the audience, I'll just have them removed. I don't care. We're there to do a comedy show. If they want to fight, that's what parking lots are for. So, yeah. Zan McLaren, no, but John Cusack, absolutely. Thanks. Gary Gulman, I don't think so. Thanks, Sally. I just think, use your life experience to shape yourself into a better person, and regret is a part of that. And so, so that's how the story goes in terms of why I don't particularly get starstruck ever by stuff, besides the Steve Martin story, which I've told ad nauseum. Anyway, so we'll just leave it at that. Yeah, it's a parking lot party. Absolutely. I did meet George Carlin at the Aspen Comedy Festival. I got stuck in the fire door entrance area outside of an elevator in one of the ballrooms where he was giving a speech, and it was just me and him and his handlers, that had been assigned to him by the comedy festival, and I got to speak to him for a minute. Have I ever run into Gary Busey? I spent the night in a haunted mansion or a haunted sanatorium with Gary Busey. Yeah, I have. I never got to meet Freddie Mercury, no. He died the same day, though, as my favorite Kiss drummer, Eric Carr. I love Toronto, Kevin, although I have to say it's hard for me to walk through parts of Toronto because of the amount of, just heartbreak stored in those. Did you ever meet Dwayne Allman? That's an interesting story. Yes, I have. Just in passing, though. Yes, Gary is alive. I was in a haunted sanatorium with Gary Busey for Celebrity Paranormal Project, and Gary is everything you expect and more. I did meet Greg Allman once. Odd circumstance. I was flying on a plane from LA to Chicago to go home for the holidays, and I was sitting in a row with a kid. It was 3 people. Me, a kid who was flying by himself, it was underage minor traveling alone. And then this blonde woman, early 20s, a lot of aftermarket parts, let's just say, dolled up to the nines. Had an outfit that was kind of, more of a tray than her bra was more of a tray than a brassiere. And I was talking to the kid, trying to make him, joking with him so he wouldn't be nervous on the flight. This was, again, the nobody years. long hair, the whole deal. And I'm sitting there, and eventually I was like, I introduced myself to the kid, told him my name was Hal, and then I introduced her, and she goes, hi. And she said, I said, what's your name? She said, people call me Pumpkin Seed. And I was like, all right, Pumpkin Seed. Can I call you Pumpkin for short? That's what my family would do. And I was like, that's very odd, but fine. And yeah, did I ever meet Jessica Rabbit? Basically, this is that story. So got off the plane, and I mean, she was clearly an adult film star, let's just say. I was not familiar with her work at the time, but I would later learn that she was the porn star Savannah, who sadly did herself in years later. But she got off the plane in Chicago and was met by Greg Allman. Greg Allman picked her up at the airport. And he was there at baggage claim to meet her. And he carried her bag. And the reason I know it was Greg Allman, besides it was Greg Allman, was because he was wearing a jean jacket that said the Allman Brothers Band on the back of it. And it had Greg written right here, embroidered, in case you're... There you go. Yes. Co-worker and later screenwriter of My Cousin Vinny was once kind enough to introduce me to both Jeff Bridges and Keith Carradine. And they were both childhood friends of his. Very nice guys. Yeah, Bridges is a sweetheart. How about Keanu Reeves? I've never met Keanu. I know a lot of people who work with him. I know a lot of stunt people who work with him. We had some that worked on Lab Rats who had, worked on Wick and some of the other movies. Good. Greg Allman. Not Almond. From the Allman Brothers Band? All right. Yeah. So anyways, is there someone you haven't met but want to? Sure. There's lots of people. I've never met Obama. That would be nice. Jeff Daniels. Saw him at a Humane Society event. A lot of good people at those things. Yeah, I have a pretty solid 6 Degrees game at this point. I agree, Lab Rats is a good show. Good point, Jose. Yeah. Reeves is a good... Yeah, you were in Dickie Roberts. I was working with David Spade and Lovitz. I don't know what it's like to work with David Spade. I've done scenes with him, but I don't know what it's like to work with him. Dude was on his phone the entire time. Literally, I swear to God, this was... And Spencer Garrett and I were on this together. This is what it's like working with David Spade, okay? This is what it is. And... Action. Line, 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 line. Cut. Okay. Back to 1. Starting from the top of the line. And action. Where is it? Line, 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 line. Blah, blah, blah. That's it. That was the entire experience. That was it. But Spencer was great to work with, and he was very funny, and we had a lot of fun. And Lovitz is a crazy person. I love John Lovitz, and we have the same agent. But he's a Looney Tunes. He's just a weird person. And he always walks up and goes, I could have killed you just then. I could have killed you. Because he knows I study martial arts. So he's like, what would you have done if I'd have just done this and you would have never done anything? I'm like, I would have stood still because I can assess the level of threat as you approach me, and I know I have nothing to fear, and that you could literally hit me as hard as you could muster with every ounce of your body, and it wouldn't leave a mark, John. Oh, yeah, all right. Like that's, yeah. Kathy Griffin? Yeah, I sang Total Eclipse of the Heart with Kathy Griffin and Margaret Cho karaoke in a hotel in 1993 for my friend Judy Toll's birthday. John Ritter, I met him and Amy Yazbek at the Aspen Comedy Festival and helped them find a vegetarian restaurant because they were vegetarians and they couldn't find one. What iconic role did I almost get? Spider-Man. Back early 90s. When I was still nobody. I mean, I look like Peter Parker. I mean, I always have. Like, that's one of the reasons why I think I liked Spider-Man so much, because I look like Peter Parker. I don't look like, Clark Kent. But Peter Parker I could pull off, especially when I was young. No, pre-Tobey Maguire. Yeah, Emo. I did shows with him. Emo's nuts, too. He's a strange person. Amy, did a pilot with Amy Asbeck. She's lovely. I believe in the paranormal. Yes. Have I met Louis Anderson? Yes, I have. Mainly at, both, you have to understand, because I became famous late in life. I was 30 when I broke, and I'd been scrambling since I was 15. It took me 15 years career-wise. So I was around a bunch of, these folks pre and post Talk Soup. Henry Winkler, I've met several times. I love Henry. He's one of the sweetest human beings in the whole world. So I have I met? Yes, I met Hillary Clinton at a Al Gore fundraiser. Yeah. Yes, I was in Spider-Man in the elevator, but that had nothing to do with any of. It was totally unrelated. Decade apart. So, I met a bunch of famous people before Talk Soup, and then I met a bunch of the same famous people after Talk Soup, and they don't remember having met me before Talk Soup, but they definitely remember meeting me after Talk Soup, right? So I've had these situations where I know somebody, I've spoken to them, but they don't remember speaking to me, and then I also remember them looking forward to meeting me after not remembering that we'd already met. And it taught me a lot about interacting with people that I may or may not see again. Are you friends with Joel McHale? No. I mean, I know Joel and, random, but that's a show you do by yourself. Nobody else is there. So there wasn't a lot of overlap, I didn't even meet John Henson until months after I'd taken over Talk Soup, because when he did the show, I wasn't there. When I did the show, he wasn't there. That's just how that is. It's like being on I Love the 90s or I Love the 80s. I know a bunch of these people now, but I did 4 seasons of the I Love Those and didn't meet any of these assholes. Michael Ian Black and I, and Rachel Harris, I probably ran into more than anybody at other stuff, because she would come down to the Improv and I'd see her at events and things like that. And she gets around. She's busy. But, Michael Ian Black's in New York, I think even Jersey, right? And so why would I see him? They shot his stuff in New York. I met Michael Ian Black for the first time at the I Love the 90s reunion show for the next version. Super weird, Yeah. Any Friends cast members? Yeah. Matt LeBlanc, I think, was at he did this event at Paramount. I ran into him there. Have you met a lot of famous people? It's a wonderful experience. But why wasn't there I Love the 60s? Because they didn't start. They dug deep with the 70s. I did the I Love the 70s, but a lot of people couldn't. I went to New Trier. What year did you graduate? 88. Stephen Colbert. Nope. Love Stephen, but I've never met him. Who do I remember from SCTV? Jesus. Everybody. As far as influences, though, Martin Short and Rick Moranis were my primary influences. I liked Eugene Levy. I thought of him as sort of the John Cleese of SCTV. He was like the designated angry person. Yeah. Michael Ian Black's joke about someone getting Hal Sparks confused with himself killed me. Yeah. Oh, thanks, John. I was grateful to be able to play Michael Novotny, so that's good. No, I never met Trump. sat on a park bench with a Dalai Lama and we chatted about the human condition. That's amazing. You win, artist. Okay, I give up. I'm tapping out. No, they erased 1 year of my schooling from Kentucky, so it set me back a year. When I moved to Chicago, they nullified all my credits. The outfit you wore during your encounter with Gillian Anderson, fantastic. I will check it out. That's hilarious. Do I want to meet Trump? No, I have no interest. So Aisha Tyler. Oh, was she at Comedy Off Broadway? Yeah, Aisha's wonderful. Super smart. Great person. Yeah. Harold Ramis was a nephew of a woman who worked for me, and he would pick her up and drive her home. Well, he's a nice guy that way. You know, he's from Chicago. Uh, 1988. Yeah. Lewis Black. Yeah, in passing at a comedy thing, at a show I did in New York with like a bunch of other comics. But it was more like just a glad handing kind of thing. I remember him being kind of agitated and uncomfortable to be around. He's fine. Nothing wrong, but. Have you ever been interviewed by Jason Carr, one of our local Detroit celebrities? Gee, I probably have, but I don't remember. Mm-hmm. Oh, indeed, I was on I Love the 90s quite a bit. Did you hang out with Diamond Dave? I've had 2 experiences with Diamond Dave, and they both were fantastic. Thank you, Corette. I think that's good timing. 2032 is a solid timing. Yeah. Oh, man, the house that Jack built. Christ, that was a mess. That could have been so easy. Like, I literally just want the footage. The good part of the house that Jack built is that they decided in the middle of the shoot that they wanted a song for because my character was a rock star, long hair, and they wanted they wanted him to play a song live, and so I had a night to write a song, and it had to be a song created by the character, so it wouldn't be something necessarily I would write. So it was nice to write in the voice of another character or whatever. And the song Strange, which is kind of close to my voice actually, but fit really where this guy was coming from. And so I wrote that song in a night and I demoed it. And the original Doug Pinnick from King's X played bass on that. So, yeah. Saw David Lee Roth on the Skyscraper Tour. Amazing. I mean, I'm a huge Steve Vai fan, so that's just fantastic. Yeah. What is Lab Rats about? I'm a billionaire scientist who created bionic children. And then I get married and my wife has a son from another marriage, and he meets those kids and he teaches them how to be normal and go to school, and they allow him to go on missions with them and fight crime. It's an adventure show. It's a $6 Million Man Disney style. We are the only Disney show ever, though, to amputate an arm, a leg, make someone go blind, and kill someone, and also to cut someone in half. So we're pretty proud of our record as Disney shows go. Any role in Sopranos? I didn't like The Sopranos. I'm not a fan of glorifying gangsters. It's just never been a thing for me. I can play any role, but given a choice, I would go someplace else. Ever get a death stare from a celeb? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. To this day, the lead singer of Rat thinks I slept with his wife. I didn't, for the record. But there's no convincing him otherwise. Stephen Piercy is convinced I was having an affair with his wife. Now, he's a paranoid drug addict and a maniac, and very silly. But I literally had to yell, "I did not sleep with your wife," in the Southwest gate, at the Southwest gate, when we were on the same flight. Yes, was she hot? Yes, I suppose. Mm-hmm. You or your dad ever hang out with John Prine? My dad might have crossed paths with him. Absolutely. Jack Black, no. Although I probably saw him, around Uncab back in the day, Uncabaret, which is where all the, the alternative comics all hung out. So that's where I met David Cross for the first time, and Margaret Cho, and Kathy Griffin, and Blaine Capatch, and Patton Oswalt. They were a duo at one point. I'm very proud that that William Shatner calls me Sparkles. That's a nice thing to have happen in your life. You know what I mean? You got the big chalkboard in heaven that goes, hey, you get to put a little hash mark there. That's pretty solid. You get to check that box. David Cross is, he's sweet enough. He's a little awkward. They all are. All the alternative comics are awkward. They're very weird to be around. Probably Patton's probably the most normal, and he's very awkward. What got you into martial arts? Getting beat up. Oh yeah, Bill Maher hates me because he brought a date to his rap party, and I got invited to it, and she was Chinese, and I spoke Chinese to her, and he got jealous and was weird. That's the end of it. Yes, Shatner calls me Sparkles. That's my nickname from him, which I mean, just super sweet. You ever see Shatner's interview show? I don't think so. Mars a slut. He's a confirmed bachelor that only has escorts, I think, largely, right? Isn't that the thing? Bill Maher's a blowhard. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think for those kind of shows, that's what's called for. You know? Nimoy was a lot nicer than Shatner. I wouldn't know. I never met Leonard Nimoy, but Bill Shatner was always nice when I ran into him. I've run into him twice in person. Would you play a drug addict? Of course. Heard that you met Randy Macho Man Savage. That's true. Yeah, it's one of the reasons I ended up in acting, and I chose a life in the theater. Is my dad famous? Not particularly. He's famous within the bluegrass world, if that's possible, because he does fret work for a lot of famous bluegrass musicians. But yeah, I've met Jon Stewart. I met it when I was doing Talk Soup. Yeah. Mars a closet incel? He can't be. He gets laid all the time. I mean, I don't know how. All right. I haven't met Sir Patrick Stewart, but he's lovely. He seems a good dude. I've only heard good things. Got high with Pauly Shore when I was in college and met Greg Barry Williams. He was gross. Yes, but he hates women. No, that might be part of the problem that he has. You know, if you liked him, you might want to hang around one for more than a weekend. I suppose. I have met Oprah. I was on her show with my ex-girlfriend. Have I ever met Hal Sparks? He's the best. I see him every day. He's just as great as you can imagine. He's a good dude. I like him a lot. I'm a huge Hal Sparks fan, I have to admit. I was on Howard Stern's show. Randy Mandy. Yeah. Talk on Rudy the Man. Yeah, eventually. Oh, we'll do some Rudy, tomorrow or Monday. You have any interest in engaging the QAnon Twitch streamers? Yeah, sure. I mean, part of me, I have to say, after reading and looking into a lot of the QAnon stuff, I feel a lot more pity and sadness about the people who are for it than anything else. Because I feel like they're sad and they're coming from a place that could be good, but they're a wreck. Have I ever met Vince Gill? Vince Gill saved my life. Yeah, I've met Vince Gill. He's been a friend of my dad's since I was 2. Seen you on Rachel Maddow. Yes, I beat Rachel Maddow at a game of horse on a cruise ship playing basketball. I'm just saying. Would you do a Lab Rats movie? Oh, indeed I would. Yeah, so some people know this story already, but when I was a little kid, I was a vociferous reader, and I would read in my bed with I had a little lamp, and I didn't have a nightstand, so I'd set the lamp on my bed when I was reading, and I fell asleep reading, and my lamp fell over, and it didn't have a shade on it, and the bulb hit the mattress, and it burned through the covers, and burned through the mattress, and set the stuffing on fire, and so my bed caught fire. And I'm laying there on a Viking funeral pyre at 6, 7 years old, whenever it was. And the phone rings magically right about that time. And we only had one phone in our house. It was in the kitchen. And from exactly where the kitchen is, oddly enough, you can see straight into my bedroom. Now, my door was closed, but you could notice the light flickering under the door. And my parents, the phone rings back then. It's kind of a big deal. And they go and they pick up the phone. And it's Vince Gill. And he's calling from California. And he's forgot about the time change. And Frankfurt's in Eastern time. So he woke up my parents. And my parents, in waking up, said, Vince, can you hang on just 1 second? Thanks very much. I think Hal's on fire. And they put the phone on top of the receiver, and they went and opened my room, and my bed was on fire, and I was still in it. And so my mom yells. I wake up on this very warm bed, and I hop out of the bed, but there's a rafter on my thing. I literally jumped up and hung on my rafters like this. Danny, you misspelled dumb, but that's okay. So I jump up and held onto the rafters, and my dad dragged the mattress off onto the floor. And then my mom went and got oven mitts, and my dad and I carried the mattress out into the driveway, which was gravel, and it burned up in the driveway. And I slept on the couch until we got a new mattress. And then my dad, after we took it out in the driveway and it just burned up, my dad and my mom went back and talked to Vince Gill because he was still on the phone. Yeah, that's right. Vince Gill saved my life, and is a good soul. Like I said, family's known him forever. Would I come over to Ireland? Absolutely. If only to see where the Styles came from. So the Styles, we've got my middle name's McGee, but the Styles family and the Sparks family came from the Isles, England, Ireland, and Scotland. You used to think it was mainly that we were mainly English with some Irish. Turns out, thanks to 23andMe, we're mainly Irish and Scottish with a little bit of English. It's like 60. It's like 80-20. 40 Irish, 40 Scottish, 20 English, and Scottish and 20 English. And so that whole, that part of our family, like we have more family and more heritage in. I don't know about the Welsh part of it as far as the British area, but it's largely Scottish and Irish. Huge amounts of that. So, no, thanks, Debbie. Excuse me. It's Magee, although it comes from the Scottish spelling of McHugh, Macgough, apparently. There you go. Yeah, so I will definitely make my way to Ireland. Would love to see you on The Masked Singer, or not see me, I suppose. They won't have me on The Masked Singer. My agent's already asked about it, and partly because people know I can sing, and they're afraid that it would give away too quickly. They want to go with people who can't. That's why it sounds so terrible most of the time. I was working with Jason Bateman. I didn't really. He was not on he didn't shoot with us the day. It was me and Nick Thune, and yeah, he wasn't on set that day. Eddie Rabbits. He loves a rainy night. I know that. 32 times? 31 times. 31. I think my sister and I counted when we were a kid, and he says, I love a rainy night 31 times in that song, if I remember correctly. Nick Thune's a good dude. He's very nice. I mean, he's a tall, pretty, alternative comic, touring dude who probably, he does very well on the road, I'm sure. I don't know, but I would guess. So he has that air about him, confidence. But he was great. Do a remake of Braveheart for us? That's great. I've got the hair, right? Exactly. I fell asleep prepping my newspaper route. No Vince Gill, though. Shoved my mattress out the window. Crazy coincidence. That's interesting, Gonzo. It is. Singing a song, if I can, it's a request. I met Tapeface. I met him at the Edinburgh Comedy Festival before he even had a show. I like Louis Prima music. What else? I've ever met Ozzy? No, but I met Sharon a bunch of times. When do you think the vaccine will be officially announced? Well, technically speaking, it'll be a rolling announcement. It won't be one big day. Thanks, Amy. I will. But yeah, I mean, it's not about when it's announced; it's about when it's ubiquitously available, and that'll probably be within a couple months. John Voight, no. No, I haven't met Brad Paisley. Although he knows a lot of overlapping people. Thanks, Julie. That's what I'm here for. Just, get everybody calm, relax. We'll get through stuff. It's all right. Glad to do it. That's right. Yeah, so, live show tomorrow night, or afternoon, depending on what time zone you're in, 4:30 my time. I'm also on a show called Amber Live half hour later, so I've got to blaze through my set and then jump on to the next one. Am I going to take the vaccine? Yes. I'm not sure which one, but yeah. What's my opinion of UFOs? I have a multi-tiered view of what unidentified flying objects are because they are unidentified flying objects. Could some be alien craft? Absolutely. Why not? The chance that we are the only sentient beings in the universe, much less our own galaxy, is mathematically ridiculous. If I was them, I would check up on us, especially once we started getting off planet. Once we fired a rocket into the air and managed to orbit our own planet, I'd come check on us if you had the ability to. Why not? Have I ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? I refuse to answer on the grounds that it may incriminate me. I plead the fifth. Yeah, look at us having a normal conversation, like the good old days. It happens. I'm sorry the DMV is closed. It was Thanksgiving yesterday, Mason. Of course. Have I ever met John Bon Jovi? No. But I'm friends with Phil X, who's his current guitar player. He's a good dude. He's really nice. Phil's a great guy. Have I figured out the desert monolith? I'm not saying. I'm 20. Stop at the steal. Really? That's the best you can do? That's very sad. Absolutely, Norman. See, life can continue. Is Halle Berry really a comedian? No. It's a phallic symbol? No. Just because something is longer than it is wide, all rectangles are not phalluses. You mean crack the desert run? No. Who shot JFK? You're acting like one person did it. Am I aware of my psychic abilities? I knew you were going to ask me that. I have met Tiffany Amber Thiessen. Long time ago. Yeah. Derp the steeple. How did I meet Summer? Was it love at first sight? Pretty damn close. The first time I saw Summer, and this is a good way to end the day's show so I can move on and go back to straightening up the house. So, getting my honey-do list done. The first time I saw Summer, she appeared in a water tank, in a giant water tank, magically, when a magician took 2 scarves, tied them in a knot, did a little magic with everything, walked over the giant tank, took both of the scarves, waved them through the water, churning it up, and when he let go of them, she was in it in a bikini that was the same, that was the scarves. Yep. That's how it worked. When all this crap is over with and Biden is inaugurated, will you please read the wonky donk in your best Scottish brogue? All right, sure. Was Roswell a cover-up? Was the alien autopsy real? No, it wasn't. Roswell was a cover-up, but the alien autopsy was fake. Sorry. Sharon Gless is a joy to work with. She's lovely. And I think I, like a lot of you, just can tell that by Jill's good. She's great. Is Santa real? As real as you want him to be. So it's on you. I've never met Christopher Walken. I'd love to, I'm a fan of his work, especially probably my favorite movie of his. A lot of people will say Deer Hunter, but I think he was fantastic in Man on Fire. And he was, I think, we've got to go back to Annie Hall. Yeah. It does feel good to be calm, isn't it? It's nice. It's not bad. I like the movies. No, you. I like a lot of his work. Would I do Graham Norton? I would appear on his show. Yes. So Bobcat Goldthwait and I was always a huge Bobcat fan. Love him. And when I auditioned for Dude, Where's My Car, they wrote that I auditioned for Ashton Kutcher's part. Then they wrote in, some people already know this, but the part of Zoltan wasn't fully written. It was just a minimal character. And they liked my audition so much, they added the role. They started blowing it up and make it bigger. But they knew they wanted me for it, but the studios always like to have an alternative, right? So they bring in another actor for the final auditions, for the producer's audition. And when I show up for the final audition, the only other person in the room with me is Bobcat Goldthwait. I've been acting since I was 14, professionally since I was 16. I agree I should have gotten an Oscar for Dude, Where's My Car? I agree. You believe that guy exists. Zoltan is a real human as far as you know. Isn't that the goal of an actor? Is it easier or harder to make a convincing character in a movie called Dude, Where's My Car, where you're shooting at a putt-putt golf course and you're acting as if you were being attacked by a 50-foot playmate, or in a cabin from a real story that was, with Meryl Streep in an environment where you can barely even see the cameras? What's easier? I ask you. Did they support my choice to be an actor in a comic? Nah, sort of. They were willing to let me fail. I wrote sketches for Lagniappe. I wasn't in. I was sort of the outsider. The guy who ran the theater department there. My teacher loved me, Mrs. Adams. She was pivotal. But Trey Crowder, I don't think so. Yeah, I know. He couldn't stand me, so I wasn't allowed in a lot of those productions because I was a stand-up and not a real actor. Do I smoke weed? No, I do not. I don't do any drugs. I don't smoke anything, and I don't drink. Never have, never will. A friend just texted me, Noel Kassler. just texted him to you? How's that possible? I only follow college football in so much as my own mother is a crazed Kentucky fan. Yeah, I do no drugs. I started watching Quincy MD because of you, and the first one I saw was A Pandemic in a Casino. Interesting, isn't it, Pat, how ahead of its time that show was? Kind of amazing. You're sober, Black. I met Sam Kinison. That was one of my first experiences seeing drugs done in person. That's also where I met Louis Anderson for the first time. He was on stage. That's a long story. I don't have time to tell that one today. That one's crazy. Pennies from Heaven was too sad for me. As a Steve Martin fan and as a kid, and that movie came out in, I think, 81. I was 11. I was like, ugh, this is rough. CBD is God's medicine. Well, then why didn't it grow that way naturally without the THC and it's fresh from there? It sounds like I'm going to go with it's science medicine. Do you think everyone who voted against Trump should send him a postcard saying "Get out"? Yeah, sure. I recommend it. It of course depends on when you saw Kinison live as to whether you met any of the Carradines. Yes. I did a roundtable discussion of Kung Fu the series with David Carradine and Michael Madsen and Vivica Fox, and I think who else was there? It was very weird. It was all like fans of the show and that kind of stuff talking about it, and none of them had watched the show. It was so weird. Like they were all people who'd worked with him but didn't watch the show. So every joke I threw up, they were like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh, that landed rather flat. You don't know the show, do you?" Yeah, he's not a happy guy. I've only run into Michael Madsen a couple times. He went to my high school. Well, he went to Central. I think he got kicked out of my high school. His sister went to New Trier. No, I never got to meet Gene Kelly, but he's amazing. He's one of those people where, like, when I was like, with my physical body and my kind of like structure of my chest versus legs and all that kind of stuff, I was like, all right, if they can see him as, if he was a handsome leading man, I could probably pull that off. My nose was a little smaller, but there you go. Do I like Tarantino movies? I like some of them. I have to say, I loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, mainly because I think Leo DiCaprio, that was his best character so far. It's the only one I've ever lost him in. He was too Chinese yet? No. Bruce Lee pitched the show. It was his idea. They just went with a white actor because it wouldn't have sold. And I like, as much as people are like, it should have been, it should have, could have. No. I'm like, it would have lasted 2 episodes. If Kato had his own show, it would have failed. But it would have been a great show. It wouldn't have been the fault of the show. But you have to understand when it was going on the air and what the audience was at that time. And not pretend that we wouldn't have a problem with it. But that's because we've lived through people who had a problem with it, eventually not having a problem with it over time. Where's Leo? You really want to see? Hold on. I'll sign off. Hold on. Wait, 1 second. Yeah. People have been asking to see Leo, so I figured he's here. Guys want to see him? You guys want to see Leo? Hold on. Yeah. Not joking. Leo is here. Look, it's Leo, everybody. That's right. I happen to have my adopted son Leo here. This is a cutout we used on the show and they throw these things out when they're done. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to let you throw a full-size printout of my fellow actor in the garbage. So I salvaged it, and I've had it ever since. No, his older brother played Chris Rock's character in Everybody Hates Chris. You may know him from that. Yeah. This is T.J. Williams. Absolutely. So there you go. Now, you happy? Yet another thing that's been around with us. Storage. TJ is always with us in spirit. So there you go. Ta-da. All right. No kitties today. They're all upstairs. I got to run and do honeydew list. I've been taking around. Where do you put all this stuff? It's everywhere. There's no place to put. That's my goal right now. Yeah, it's bad juju. You don't let somebody throw that. Yeah, of course I was Zoltan. I think this is in here. Hold on. Let's see, this guy. This has been a fun little discussion. Here you go. Did that work? Did it work? No? Oh, it's not on that page. I see. Hold on. I have to go to this. I think I have to go to this one. Me. There we go. Then it'll work. No, is it on the commentary one? Where is it? I think it had to be on the me and Johnny one. Nope. Oh well. I thought it worked, but I guess not. Oh well, never mind. Next time. All right, guys. Appreciate you. I got to run. Otherwise, all those lovely feelings I have for Summer will be dashed as she gets she'll start tapping her foot at my giant mess in the living room that I've created because I was shooting all week. Yeah, but lovely to see you guys. Have a great Saturday night. Be of good cheer. Stay safe. Stay in. Don't go out if you can't. Right now, this current wave is really awful. So do everything you can to physically distance. Wear a mask. Wash your hands. Please, during this time as an act of patriotism and kindness to your fellow human beings. And I thank you guys for hanging out. It's always nice to, after the regular show, be able to chat with you guys for a little bit and just kind of be a person. I feel like that's what's coming back. You know what I mean? Doesn't that feel like, you feel like you're sort of emerging from a cave lately? Is everybody, am I the only person that's kind of felt that? That's kind of like, you're kind of shuffling off the drag of Trump and his nonsense and just getting back to like, oh, remember when we used to do all kinds of other shit before we had to worry every single day about this nudnik? It feels like it's just, I mean, obviously there's still some time left and there's going to be stuff, but slowly but surely working our way out of this. I feel like it's, a lot of it's sort of blossoming naturally. Yeah. Yes, my hair is very feathered right now. It's just, so tough. And you can see that it's like, it's all the way down there. It's full, we're going full mullet. It's fine. That's all I'm here for. Help you have some perspective. Keep a smile on your face. Keep your head up. Any challenge ahead of us, just one foot in front of the other. That's life. So, yeah. Anyways, I appreciate you guys. I'm going to sign off. I will see you guys either, if something, huge happens tomorrow, I might come on, but not at a regular time, just kind of whenever. So, subscribe, turn on notifications and all that kind of stuff if you so choose. If not, I'll see you guys Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for hanging out this week. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you guys have, tryptophan naps from your leftovers or whatever. And take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And I will see you guys later. Okay,